Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles. Chapter 2507. Boom! 12 heaven-defying divine artifacts collided. A destructive aura roared in all directions. However, even so, the sovereign divine realm did not move. It was indestructible. Sunset divine bow, what is the meaning of this? An angry roar sounded. The short blade that came from the blood-red clothed youth was filled with a vicious aura that could not be dispersed. Isn't it obvious? We are no longer in the same camp. We each serve our own masters. The Sunset Divine Bao said. Is a mere Qin Fei Yang qualified for you to serve? Short Blade shouted. I used to think the same as you, but when I really understood Qin Fei Yang, I realized that Long Zun is no match for him at all. The Sunset Divine Bao said. Short Blade said in a deep voice, it seems that we have to fight to the death. Then don't talk nonsense, let's fight. As soon as the Sunset Divine Bao's voice fell, an arrow condensed out of flames, carrying a destructive aura, shot toward Short Blade. Clang! Short Blade's edge was also monstrous, madly attacking. The void here was directly smashed into chaos. Qin Fei Yang, the armor formed by rust is enough to block the fluctuations of our battle. You must find a way to break the sovereign divine realm. The axe's voice sounded in Qin Fei Yang's mind, and then it also erupted with a destructive aura, attacking the thin sword. A chaotic battle began. This was a battle of heaven-defying divine artifacts, and no one could interfere. They had all unsealed and were evenly matched. However, the broken sword was an exception. Because the broken sword seal was different from the Sunset Divine Bao and the other heaven-defying divine artifacts. The Sunset Divine Bao and the other heaven-defying divine artifacts were self-sealed and could be unsealed at any time. But the broken sword seal was imposed by an outsider. It had no way to break this seal by itself. The broken sword's opponent was the bronze halberd. Facing the fully recovered bronze halberd, the broken sword did not seem to have much power to fight back and was defeated. All of this. Qin Fei Yang saw it all. If this continued, the one who lost in the end would definitely be him. Huff. Taking a deep breath, Qin Fei Yang looked at the broken sword and said, "Hold on." As soon as he finished speaking, he resolutely turned around and executed the movement character formula as he flashed towards the distant sea. Where do you think you're going? Seeing this, the 6 ancestral dragons roared and charged towards Qin Fei Yang. Whether it was cultivation or speed, they were far superior to Qin Fei Yang. In the blink of an eye, the 6 of them had caught up to Qin Fei Yang and surrounded him. Of course, they knew what Qin Fei Yang was going to do. Activate the slaughter domain. Knowing the might of the slaughter domain, they naturally wouldn't give Qin Fei Yang this opportunity. Are you that afraid of me activating my slaughter domain? Qin Fei Yang sneered. Cut the crap and die. The blood-red clothed teenager slapped at Qin Fei Yang. When he thought of the grievances he had suffered during this period of time, the anger in his heart could not be suppressed. Divine power surged out. The young man was like a devil god, and he was filled with a monstrous baleful aura and vicious aura. Boom! His palm slapped on Qin Fei Yang's armor. Puff! Qin Fei Yang's body shook, and he spat out a mouthful of blood as he took a few steps back. Although the armor was formed from the rust of the axe, compared to the axe itself, the rust didn't seem that strong. However, it also helped Qin Fei Yang block the power of the palm, so his life wasn't in danger. But just as Qin Fei Yang retreated, the white-clothed woman standing behind him also slapped at Qin Fei Yang's back. Puff! Qin Fei Yang spat out another mouthful of blood and staggered forward. The other ancestral dragon standing in front of Qin Fei Yang also immediately attacked. Facing the 6 ancestral dragons, he didn't have the strength to fight back at all. Like a ball, he was sandwiched in the middle by the 6 ancestral dragons and kicked around. I'd like to see how long your armor can last. An old woman shouted and kicked Qin Feiyang's body. This old woman was wearing a long green robe. Her wrinkled face was filled with hostility. She was the ancestral dragon of the wood dragon race. Qin Feiyang didn't say anything from the beginning to the end and looked at the six of them gloomily. In the distance, the battle of the 12 heaven-defying legendary weapons had also entered a climax. However, in comparison, the broken sword seemed to be in a sorry state. Qin Feiyang glanced at the broken sword before looking at the six ancestral dragons again and smiled sinisterly. If you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Swoosh! In the blink of an eye, Qin Feiyang disappeared. The six ancestral dragons were shocked. Was he going to reveal the ancient castle? Longzuan raised his brows as well and his eyes emitted a milky white light. Immediately, he saw the ancient castle in the void. The six ancestral dragons looked up at Longzuan with killing intent in their eyes and shouted, "Sir, lead us into the ancient castle." However, Longzuan didn't respond. Because she didn't know that the ancient castle was sealed, she wasn't confident. Swoosh! However, it was only for a moment. Qin Feiyang appeared again. The battle armor formed by rust was still there. He wore a battle sword and stood in the killing zone, holding a blood-colored sword in his hand. How is it so fast? The six ancestral dragons were surprised. Is it surprising that the ancient castle has a 1 day and 100 years time array? Qin Feiyang sneered. He slashed at the blood-robed youth. What? 1 day and 100 years. The six ancestral dragons were dumbfounded. Longzuan and the youth in red were also shocked. Ah, the blood-colored sword arrived and the blood-robed youth screamed as his body was cut in half on the spot. Blood splattered across the sky. A blood dragon immediately materialized. This was the true body of the blood-robed youth, a blood dragon. Although this blood is only enough to activate the second stage, it's more than enough to kill you. Qin Feiyang whispered and slashed at the white-robed woman again. Retreat! The white-robed woman shuddered and immediately took the blood-robed youth's body out of the sovereign divine realm. The other 4 ancestral dragons also didn't dare to delay and escaped from the sovereign divine realm. They stood beside Longzuan and stared at Qin Feiyang in horror. So this is the killing zone, even the ancestral dragons can't fight back. It's indeed worthy of its reputation. The youth in red whispered. So what? No matter how powerful the killing zone is, it can't break the sovereign divine realm. Such a heaven-defying technique must have its flaws, such as a time limit. Once the time is up, killing him will be as easy as flipping my hand. Longzuan said indifferently and waved his hand. A milky white divine light entered the blood dragon's body and the body that was cut in half began to heal. That's right. Qin Feiyang, if you can break the sovereign divine realm, come out and kill us. If you can't break it, then we have all the time to waste with you. The white-robed woman looked down at Qin Feiyang and sneered. Qin Feiyang ignored her and Longzuan and turned to look at the broken sword. Although the broken sword was still fighting tenaciously, there were many cracks on the blade. There were also a few cracks on the sword. Blood! I need a large amount of blood. Qin Feiyang suddenly roared and a terrifying suction force erupted from his body. Suddenly, a strong wind whistled in the void. Blood from the sea in the distance flowed toward them like a river of blood. However, at this moment, Longzuan took a step into the sovereign divine realm and pointed at the sky. The river of blood immediately turned into nothingness in the void. Do you think I'll give you a chance to absorb blood? Longzuan looked coldly at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang wasn't surprised. Because when the 6 ancestral dragons descended, he had already expected such an outcome. The confrontation of the 12 heaven-defying divine weapons had almost killed all the sea beasts in the inner sea. The entire inner sea had turned into a sea of blood. For Qin Feiyang, it was a treasure. However, Longzuan and the 6 ancestral dragons who had seen the power of the slaughter domain would definitely not let him get what he wanted. In other words, faced with the boundless blood, he could only watch helplessly. Although he had expected this, he was still very disappointed. Because this undoubtedly forced him into a desperate situation. Without blood, without a heaven-defying divine weapon, what can you do? You can't do anything, you can only watch the broken sword shatter. The ancestral dragons kept mocking him. As his voice fell, the broken sword suddenly broke into 2 pieces. The originally bright purple-gold divine light also dimmed immediately. Clang! After the broken sword, the bronze halberd immediately rushed toward Qin Feiyang. No one can hurt him. Fu Tu roared and forcibly unsheathed his thin sword, blocking in front of Qin Feiyang and slashing at the bronze halberd. Clang! Sparks flew and the bronze halberd was sent flying. But in the next moment, the bronze halberd and the thin sword joined forces and attacked Fu Tu. Fu Tu met the attack without fear. What can I do? Qin Feiyang muttered. The broken sword broke to protect him. Fu Tu also faced 2 heaven-defying divine weapons alone to protect him. But what about him? He could only stand here and watch. He couldn't help at all. No. This wasn't how Qin Feiyang should behave. He had encountered so many powerful opponents, but he didn't admit defeat. This time, he wouldn't admit defeat either. Swish! Qin Feiyang clenched his hands and appeared in the sky above the Devil's Land. Boom! Waves of rule force fell from the sky, turning into thousands of strands and shrouding the entire Black Tortoise world. What's that? The creatures of the Black Tortoise world, whether they were humans or beasts, all looked at the sky in surprise. I am Qin Feiyang. I believe everyone is no stranger to me. But there is one thing that many of you don't know. A long time ago, I was the master of the Black Tortoise world. That's right. I am the master of the Black Tortoise world, and all of you are my people. Everything you have was given to you by me. Like the divine treasures of the Desert of Death. Like the divine items and treasures of the various forbidden lands. Now, I have encountered a powerful enemy. I hope you can help me. I need a large amount of blood. Please raise your hands. Qin Feiyang spoke. His sincere voice was transmitted into the minds of every creature in the Black Tortoise world. Qin Feiyang. The master of our Black Tortoise world. You're joking, right? At this moment, all creatures in the Black Tortoise world were shocked. In the sky above a city, 2 figures flew out from the city. They were Pai Lupi and Theta Wang. The 2 stood above the city, looking at the Devil's Land, their eyes filled with shock. What does he need blood for? There's such a powerful enemy. How powerful is this enemy that can make him so helpless? The 2 were puzzled. Please, everyone. Qin Feiyang's voice once again rang in the minds of countless creatures. Master, how much blood do you need? We will give it to you. Pai Lupi and Theta Wang looked at each other, then raised their hands and shouted at the people in the city, everyone, raise your hands. Thank you. Qin Feiyang muttered. When he spoke earlier, he had already released his perception. Therefore, he saw everything that Pai Lupi and Theta Wang did. Strands of the power of laws fell, cutting Pai Lupi and Theta Wang's wrists. Blood immediately gushed out. Chapter 2508. Under Pai Lupi's lead, the people in the city also raised their hands one after another. When the law fell, wounds appeared on everyone's wrists. Blood gushed out uncontrollably, gathering in the Devil's Land. However, only the people in that city raised their hands. The people and beasts in other places thought about it and ignored it. I could have killed you all like last time and snatched your blood. But I didn't do that because I respect you. Please give me some trust. I don't need all of your blood, just half. Qin Feiyang's voice sounded again. These words reminded many of the people in the Black Tortoise world of the past. That time, when the law power descended, all the living beings died. But later, Qin Feiyang used a heaven-defying ability to resurrect them. They still remembered these things. Qin Feiyang is the ruler of our Black Tortoise world. How can we not help him when he's in trouble? Moreover, he gave us so many divine items. In another city, an old man stood in the sky and looked down at the people in the city below. Do you think that if the ruler dies, we'll be able to stay out of trouble? Let me tell you, that's impossible. The ruler is already benevolent. What else do you want? In a deep mountain, a burly man looked at the beasts around him and roared. If we want the Black Tortoise world to be safe, we must help the ruler. Trust me. The ruler is worthy of your help. Do you see the law power? If the ruler wants to, he can kill us all in an instant. Don't be so tactless. People in various places of the Black Tortoise world stood up and called for help. They were the 10 people who had been brought into the Devil's Land by the Fire Lotus and consumed the Chaos Divine Pill. They had seen Qin Feiyang before. They knew of Qin Feiyang's strength and that Qin Feiyang had terrifying divine artifacts and experts by his side. And now, Qin Feiyang was actually asking for help from the beings of the Black Tortoise world. One could imagine how much trouble he was in. Alright, we believe him. Raise your hands. Gradually, the living beings of the Black Tortoise world began to respond. The humans raised their hands high, while the beasts raised their claws high. Thank you. Qin Feiyang murmured. Strands of rule force fell, and every living being in the Black Tortoise world had a wound on their body. Waves of blood soared into the sky, enveloping the heaven and earth. After fusing with the ancient castle, the Black Tortoise realm's time law became 1 day, 100 years. Now, it had already developed for hundreds of thousands of years. After so many years, whether it was the number of living beings or their cultivation bases, they had both increased by more than 10 times, or even dozens of times. Therefore, Qin Feiyang no longer needed to exterminate the Black Tortoise world. Everyone only needed to contribute half of their blood. In addition to his current state, it was enough for him to upgrade his slaughter domain to the 3rd stage. At this moment, the blood from all directions gathered into a sea of blood, continuously pouring into the Devil's Land. Qin Feiyang was drowned in blood. Thank you, everyone, I will not forget your help today. I promise everyone that in the near future, I will give the entire Black Tortoise world a great fortune. Qin Feiyang's grateful voice once again sounded in the minds of all living beings. Mother, is this Lord Qin Feiyang really the ruler of our Black Tortoise world? In a small mountain village, a 7 or 8-year-old child raised his head to look at a woman beside him and asked. I don't know. Then how do you know whether he's lying to us or not? He won't lie to us. Because after the last catastrophe, Mother saw him revive everyone with her own eyes. Child, you raise your hand too. A woman raised her hand while rubbing the boy's hand and smiled. Okay. The boy also raised his hand. In the blink of an eye. As the blood continued to pour in, the power of the blood-colored sword erupted like a volcano, crazily rising. This killing intent, this aura, alarmed all living beings in the Black Tortoise world. This is the power of our blood. Everyone was surprised. So their blood had such an ability. Clang. About 100 breaths passed. The aura of the blood-colored sword suddenly rose to another level. The 3rd stage. However, Qin Feiyang had been suppressing the destructive power. Because if he didn't suppress it, the Black Tortoise world would be destroyed. At this moment, because they had lost too much blood, the living beings in the Black Tortoise world were pale and weak. Many of them had fainted. Enough, thank you. Qin Feiyang muttered as the power of laws dissipated. With a thought, the blood that filled the sky suddenly turned into a torrent and merged into the killing zone. Immediately after. Without any delay, he took a step forward and appeared in the sky above the inner sea. Outside. Only a moment had passed. Qin Feiyang didn't suppress it anymore and the power of the blood-colored sword erupted. What? Long Zun and the others' faces changed. This power, how did it become so much stronger? Where did he find the blood? The Black Tortoise world is an independent world. Do you think that by stopping me from absorbing the blood here, you can win? Let me tell you. I am not fighting alone, there are thousands of living beings behind me. Qin Feiyang roared as he rushed to the side of the axe and slashed at the bronze halberd. Clang! The blood-colored sword and the bronze halberd collided. The bronze halberd was immediately sent flying and a gap appeared on the blade. However, Qin Feiyang was also forced back. The battle armor formed by rust on his body also nearly collapsed. It can't be. It can actually fight against a heaven-defying artifact with its seal unlocked? The youth in fiery clothes was dumbfounded. This killing zone was too heaven-defying. Kill! Qin Feiyang looked at the axe and his blood-colored hair fluttered as he directly clashed with the bronze halberd. Long Zun, are you surprised? Haha, this is Qin Feiyang. The weapon spirit of the axe laughed wildly as it charged at the thin sword. Clang! The broken sword that had been broken into two once again rushed toward Qin Feiyang. It was as if it was telling Qin Feiyang that it could still fight. Qin Feiyang glanced at the broken sword, then glanced at the axe, sunset divine bow, and the other heaven-defying divine artifacts. The blood in his body couldn't help but boil as he laughed heartily. Today, let us slaughter our way to the heavens and make the entire divine prefecture tremble beneath our feet. Boom! The power of the blood-colored sword was still increasing. Because there was still a lot of blood in the killing zone that had not been absorbed. What kind of young man is this? The youth in fiery clothes murmured. In the face of such a desperate situation, he could still pull himself together and fight while bathed in blood. Did you notice? The power of his blood-colored sword is still increasing. The green-robed old woman transformed from wood dragon ancestor dragon gloomily stared at the blood-colored sword in Qin Feiyang's hand. Because there is still blood in the killing zone. If this continues, I'm afraid the scene in the Star River will happen again. The white-robed woman said in a deep voice. Whether it was Longzuan or the other ancestor dragons, they could not help but feel a chill when they thought of the scene in the Star River. Longzuan suddenly said, "But don't you think it's strange?" What strange? The youth in fiery clothes and the other ancestor dragons were suspicious. Longzuan said, "Until now, the ancient castle has not made a move." Yes. If the ancient castle is so strong, why hasn't it made a move? Could there be a problem? The other ancestor dragons were puzzled. Actually, you have overlooked an important point, and that is the Black Tortoise world. Just now, Qin Feiyang said that the Black Tortoise world is an independent world, and there are thousands of living beings in it. The youth in fiery clothes said. You really believe that? Someone like him deserves an independent world? The other ancestor dragon sneered. The youth in Hui said, "But look at him, he's not joking." The great ancestor dragon looked at Qin Feiyang. Was he really not joking? An independent world, if that was the case, then wouldn't this kid be the ruler of a world? Even they, the dragons, did not have this kind of glory. Longzuan clenched his fists and said word by word, "Today, he must die." The other ancestor dragons also nodded. Below. The battle became more and more intense. Qin Feiyang's whole body was spurting blood. And the blood that flowed out of his body was also absorbed by the blood-colored sword. All the heaven-defying artifacts, whether it was Qin Feiyang's side or the dragon's side, were also full of scars. Finally, the blood in the killing field was all absorbed by the blood-colored sword. The power of the blood-colored sword had indeed become a little stronger, but it was not obvious. However, in a battle of this level, being a little stronger could also play a key role. The bronze halberd that was fighting with Qin Feiyang was also more and more shocked. What kind of young man was this? Where did he get such a heaven-defying artifact from? No matter how strong you are, you won't be a match for this sovereign. Because this sovereign has already unlocked the seal. The bronze halberd spirit said contemptuously, and a black energy burst out. Qin Feiyang's eyes instantly fell into darkness. And not only his vision, he felt that his hearing, perception, and so on were also gradually disappearing. Qin Feiyang was surprised and did not hesitate to slash with his sword, but the blood-colored sword was unable to split the black energy. Die! The bronze halberd took the opportunity to kill Qin Feiyang. And it was also at this moment that the axe swept to Qin Feiyang's side, and a five-colored force gushed out. When this five-colored force appeared, the black energy automatically disappeared. Qin Feiyang's vision, hearing, and perception were restored. Looking at the bronze halberd, he did not hesitate to hold the blood-colored sword and slashed out. Clang! The two retreated again. The bronze halberd immediately shouted at the axe, "Don't meddle in other people's business." Humph! The axe coldly snorted, and said, "Qin Feiyang, this is the power of its law of darkness, it can seal the sensory ability of the five senses." The power of law. Qin Feiyang frowned. Yes. After unlocking the seal, the heaven-defying artifact's power of law is extremely terrifying, your blood sword can't break it. Be careful. Fu Tu warned and continued to fight with the thin sword. Chapter 2509. The Power of Law. Qin Feiyang looked at the bronze halberd. Although he still did not understand the power of law, he believed that no power in the world could be invincible. I won't give that broken axe a second chance to help you. The bronze halberd roared, and the power of law appeared again. Qin Feiyang's senses were sealed again. Qin Feiyang simply closed his eyes. The power of law could seal his senses, but it could not seal his heart. Slowly feel, slowly capture, he would definitely be able to capture it. Let's see who can save you this time. The bronze halberd shone brightly, like a graceful swan, and shot towards Qin Feiyang's forehead. And all of this. Qin Feiyang was not aware of it at all. Beside his ears and in front of his eyes, there was only dead silence. However, in this state, Qin Feiyang seemed to understand some truths. Darkness only blinded the eyes. And what the eyes saw might not be true. Illusion, illusion. Heart. The heart was the brightest pair of eyes of all living things in the boundless universe. The heart was clear, and nothing could deceive you. As long as the heart was not confused, and there was no despair, then it would definitely be able to push aside the darkness and see the light. And this light was not the light that the eyes saw, but the light of dawn that belonged to one's heart, the light of hope. Suddenly, inside the black power that enveloped Qin Feiyang, a ray of light emerged. The light was very weak, almost invisible to the naked eye. But at this moment, the world seemed to have fallen into a dead silence. Whether it was Long Zun and the others who dominated the god's realm, or the major heaven-defying artifacts, they all looked at Qin Feiyang. What was that ray of light? With justice in the heart, the light of a firefly can also illuminate the world. Qin Feiyang's voice sounded. The light became brighter and brighter. Finally, a dazzling divine light tore apart the black power and burst out. As long as there is dawn in the heart, darkness can't cover the heart. Qin Feiyang's voice became louder and louder, like the sound of heaven rolling in the inner sea. As long as the heart has courage, light will dispel all darkness. Light, like a raging fire. Light, like the righteous energy. Light, like a bright lamp, illuminates life. Light is the foundation of the universe. It guides all things in the world and steps on the path forward. His voice grew louder and louder as it reverberated in the void, seeming somewhat ethereal. Yes. Where there is darkness, there is light. Light is the indelible flame of hope in the hearts of all beings in the world. The last sentence was like a thunderclap that exploded in the sky above the inner sea. The light within the black energy instantly soared to a terrifying degree. It was like a scorching sun, making Long Zun and the others unable to look directly at it. Thank you for allowing me to understand the mysteries of light through the law of darkness. This should be the law of light, right? Qin Feiyang took a step forward. The light converged and turned into a thumb-sized flame that floated in his palm. The flames were pure white and exuded a holy aura. Moreover, it also contained an invisible will. What? Long Zun and the others stared at the flame in Qin Feiyang's palm in disbelief. The weapon spirits of the 12 heaven-defying artifacts were also extremely shocked. He had actually used the law of darkness to comprehend the law of light. This was too unbelievable. A mere peerless god could comprehend the law of light. This was not a joke. Setting aside the heaven-defying artifacts, the people here included Long Zun, the Beast Emperor, and the 6 ancestor dragons. Their cultivation levels had all stepped into the imperishable realm. But apart from Long Zun, who else could comprehend the law of light? To the living beings of the world, the law of light was a power that surpassed everything. It was an unattainable dream. But now, they had personally witnessed a young man who was much weaker than them comprehending the law of light. Just how terrifying is this boy's talent, comprehension, and potential? Is this why the Sunset Bao and the others chose to follow him? The fiery-robed youth murmured. A mere peerless god had actually comprehended the law of light. How shocking was this? This boy was indeed the greatest threat to the dragons. Lord Long Zun, you must kill him. This boy cannot be left alive. At all costs. The 6 ancestor dragons roared. The young man in red had also recovered from his injuries. He looked at Qin Feiyang with murderous intent. Phew! Long Zun exhaled deeply. He lowered his head to look at Qin Feiyang and said, Qin Feiyang, you really amaze me time and time again. Qin Feiyang looked up at Long Zun and waited for him to continue. Long Zun said, Come, my dragons. I will bestow upon you supreme glory. I will also make the decision to betroth my daughter to you. What? The 6 ancestor dragons and the fiery-robed youth looked at Long Zun in shock. The weapon spirits of the 12 heaven-defying artifacts were also in disbelief. Betrothing the princess of the dragons to Qin Feiyang? This was a great honor for the humans of the ancient realm. They never thought that Long Zun would value Qin Feiyang so much. Qin Feiyang was also stunned. He originally thought that Long Zun would kill him at all costs to prevent future troubles. But unexpectedly, he actually wanted him to join the dragons. He even married his own daughter to him. If he agreed, wouldn't he become Long Zun's son-in-law? Becoming Long Zun's son-in-law meant that he would be second only to one person and above tens of thousands of people. This kind of good thing, who knows how many people wanted it. If it were someone else, they probably wouldn't even think about it and directly nodded their head in agreement. And you don't have to sign the fate contract. Of course, I also know that the fate contract can't bind you. Long Zun said again. Qin Feiyang came back to his senses and looked down at the white flame in his hand. With a thought, the flame entered his sea of consciousness and floated beside his divine soul. Then he looked up at the dragons again and shook his head, Your daughter's body is priceless. I'm afraid I'm not worthy of her. Long Zun immediately frowned. Qin Feiyang said again, But what? Long Zun asked. If the dragons can give up ruling the ancient realm and live in a corner, we can be friends. Qin Feiyang said. If they could solve all the problems in such a peaceful way, that would naturally be the best. Impossible. The ancient realm must be ruled by the dragons. Long Zun said resolutely. Qin Feiyang shook his head in disappointment and said, then there's no room for discussion, let's fight. Qin Feiyang took a step forward and took the initiative to attack the bronze halberd. The axe, sunset bow, and other heaven-defying artifacts also attacked their respective opponents. The battle began again. Clang! The blood-colored sword and the bronze halberd collided, and the destructive aura was earth-shattering. Qin Feiyang shouted, let me experience the power of your law of darkness again. What are you being arrogant for? Your law of darkness is just at the threshold. The bronze halberd roared, and the law of darkness emerged again. But this time, the darkness could no longer blind his eyes, nor could it seal his senses. Although it's just at the threshold, it's not comparable to a divine artifact like you who relied on others to obtain the law of darkness. Qin Feiyang waved the blood-colored sword and constantly collided with the bronze halberd. The sparks from the collision were as brilliant as fireworks. Clang! Suddenly, a crack appeared on the bronze halberd. How is this possible? The bronze halberd's artifact spirit was shocked. Can't you see it? The power of the blood sword is a little stronger than yours. Although it's just a little, as long as you give me time, I'll destroy you sooner or later. Qin Feiyang smiled coldly. Damn it! The bronze halberd's artifact spirit was furious to the extreme. As a heaven-defying artifact, it was forced to such an extent by a human with only the cultivation of a god. It was simply a great shame. Clang! At this moment, a crack appeared on the thin sword that had clashed with the axe. How could this be? The sword's artifact spirit turned pale with fright. Sorry, but my strength has now surpassed yours. As Qin Feiyang said, although it's only a little, as long as I have enough time, I'll destroy you sooner or later. The axe's artifact spirit sneered. Impossible. A heaven-defying artifact can become stronger. The sword's artifact spirit roared. Boom! Clang! Before its voice died away, the yellow shield, the 3-meter-long iron whip, the blood-colored dagger, and the 3-foot-long iron rod, these 4 divine artifacts, under the indiscriminate bombardment of the sunset divine bow and the other 3 heaven-defying artifacts, had a crack one after another. How could this be? The artifact spirits roared in disbelief. The sunset divine bow's artifact spirit said, isn't it simple? Because we've all become stronger. Impossible. How long have you been following Qin Feiyang? Besides, what ability does he have to make you stronger? The bronze halberd's artifact spirit roared. Haha, didn't you hear that the Black Tortoise world lasts 100 years and is an independent world? In the thousands of years in the Black Tortoise world, we've been cultivating in the land of origin. The sunset divine bow's artifact spirit laughed. The land of origin. The artifact spirits exclaimed. The land of origin, since there's a land of origin, it means that the Black Tortoise world is really an independent world. The fiery-robed youth muttered. Hearing this, the 6 ancestral dragons' bodies and minds trembled. An independent world, how could this little bastard's luck be so good? A terrifying slaughter domain, an independent world, and that shocking talent in comprehension. Why did the heavens like him so much? All the good things were given to him. How about it? Do you guys want to join Qin Feiyang as well? I guarantee that you'll be able to enter the land of origin. The sunset divine bow's artifact spirit said to the sword and the other 4 heaven-defying artifacts. The 6 heaven-defying artifact spirits fell silent. To these heaven-defying divine artifacts, the land of origin was an irresistible question. Lord Dragon Sovereign, quickly think of a way, or they'll betray us. Seeing this, the white-robed woman hurriedly shouted. The blood-robed youth and the other 4 were also extremely anxious. The betrayal of the 4 heaven-defying artifacts, including the sunset divine bow, was already a great loss to the dragons. If even the sword and the other 4 heaven-defying artifacts betrayed them, then the dragons would really suffer a great loss. This was because a heaven-defying divine artifact could play an absolute role in any force. Chapter 25:10. However, Long Zun remained silent. But at the same time, hearing the words of the sunset divine Bao's spirit, Qin Feiyang's heart couldn't help but move. If these 6 heaven-defying artifacts also betrayed the dragons, that would be a great thing for him. Because in this way, the dragons wouldn't even have a single heaven-defying artifact in the future. The strength of the dragons would plummet, while his strength would skyrocket. Qin Feiyang said, "I promise, as long as you abandon the dark and join the light, I promise to let you enter the land of Source." What he said was undoubtedly more convincing than what the sunset divine Bao's spirit said. Because he was the master of the Black Tortoise realm. When the 6 heaven-defying artifacts heard this, they became more and more tempted. The axe artifact spirit also said, "This opportunity knocks but once. You must think it through." Boom! Suddenly, a terrifying aura erupted. Qin Feiyang was shocked and raised his head to look at Long Zun. "In front of this sovereign, you instigated them to betray this sovereign. It seems that you really don't put this sovereign in your eyes. For the last time, this sovereign will ask you one more time, do you want to join my dragons?" Long Zun lowered his head to look at Qin Feiyang and said coldly, "If our paths are different, we can't work together." Qin Feiyang said, "All right." Long Zun's killing intent suddenly surged. He raised his head to look at the divine dragon island and said sincerely, "Please kill this child." Boom! His voice fell. Accompanied by a loud explosion, a milky white divine light swept out from the sacred mountain. Whoosh! The divine light contained a world-destroying divine power, shattering the sky and rushing over like lightning. Qin Feiyang's face suddenly sank. Because at this moment, he clearly felt that there was a terrifying aura firmly locked onto him. What is this? Qin Feiyang was surprised. The 12 law-defying artifacts stopped fighting too. They trembled slightly as if they were trembling in fear. Not good. This aura. It has already surpassed the heaven-defying artifact. The axe spirit exclaimed. What? Surpassed the heaven-defying artifact? Isn't that a sovereign weapon? Qin Feiyang felt as if he had been struck by a bolt from the blue, his mind rumbling. The divine dragon island actually hit a sovereign divine weapon. But how was that possible? The sovereign divine weapon was a peerless divine weapon that only the creator gods were qualified to possess. As for the dragons, although they were powerful, they could only dominate the ancient realm. How could they possibly have sovereign divine weapons? Could it be, suddenly? A terrifying thought emerged in Qin Feiyang's mind. Is this god of creation also one of the dragons? No. If Wu Tian really belonged to the dragons, why would he give him the ancient castle, Chang Shui, and the 6 words divine formula? Wasn't this the same as nurturing his own enemies? Even a god of creation wouldn't do such a thing to benefit others at his own expense. Qin Feiyang, run! The axe spirit roared. Qin Feiyang quivered and came back to his senses, but when he looked around, his eyes were full of confusion. The internal sea was sealed by the sovereign divine realm, where could he escape to? Let's try again and see if we can break through the sovereign divine realm. The artifact spirit of the sunset divine Bao roared. Kill! The axe spirit shouted coldly. At this moment, the 6 heaven-defying divine weapons, except for the broken sword, were all unsealed. One could imagine how terrifying their combined attack was. And Qin Feiyang also raised the blood-red sword and attacked the sovereign divine realm with the 6 heaven-defying divine weapons. The blood-red sword was no less than a heaven-defying divine weapon, which meant that there were 7 heaven-defying divine weapons. However, even if Qin Feiyang joined in, the sovereign divine realm didn't move at all. It was as indestructible as a rock. The axe spirit roared, "What the hell is this barrier?" Qin Feiyang looked at the sunset divine bow and the other 4 heaven-defying divine weapons and asked, "Do you know? We know that the sovereign divine realm came from the sacred mountain, but what is in the sacred mountain? No one knows except for the dragon sovereign." The artifact spirit of the sunset divine bow said. "Ancestral dragon doesn't know either." Qin Feiyang was surprised. "Yes. Only the dragon sovereign knows." The sunset divine bow said. Qin Feiyang said angrily, "Since you know about the sovereign divine realm, why didn't you tell me earlier?" "Because we want to see if you have the ability to break through this sovereign divine realm. But now it's obvious that even you can't do it." The sunset divine bow sighed. "Is this a joke?" Qin Feiyang was speechless. "We're not joking. For you, this is a test. If you can break through the sovereign divine realm, then we will truly believe in you." The sunset divine bow said. Qin Feiyang said, "From what you said, you haven't truly submitted to me yet?" "Yes. The reason we are helping you now is purely because we want to go to the source land. If you want us to truly submit to you and be loyal to you, it won't be that easy." The sunset divine bow said. Qin Feiyang went silent. Indeed. These heaven-defying divine artifact all had heaven-defying abilities. How could it be easy for them to truly submit to a person? Similarly, the meaning of the 4 heaven-defying divine artifact was also very obvious. As long as he could break through the sovereign divine realm, they would truly submit to him. Break through the sovereign divine realm. Qin Feiyang looked at the sovereign divine realm above and shouted, "I need blood, a lot of blood." "Blood," the axe's artifact spirit muttered. Right now, this area had already been destroyed by the battle. There wasn't even a drop of seawater, let alone blood. However, in the other 3 directions of Divine Dragon Island, there was still a lot of blood and sea beast corpses. "Lend him a hand." The axe's artifact spirit shouted. The divine might rolled out, covering the sky and covering the earth as it surged in all directions. "Quick! Right now, he is our only hope." The sunset divine bow's artifact spirit also shouted. The 4 heaven-defying divine artifact also released their shocking divine might, surging in all directions. The white-clothed woman looked at the 6 heaven-defying divine artifact and shouted, "What are you doing? Hurry up and stop them." The 6 heaven-defying divine artifact remained silent. Long Zun said, "Do you want to be destroyed by the sovereign divine weapon?" Hearing this, the 6 heaven-defying divine artifact immediately trembled, and hurriedly rushed towards Qin Feiyang and the other heaven-defying divine artifact. Seeing this, the axe's artifact spirit roared, "I will do my best to stall them, you guys hurry up." Boom! At that moment, he turned around and charged towards the 6 great divine artifact, shouting, "Although the sovereign divine weapon is powerful, can it compare to the land of origin? Think carefully." The 6 great divine artifact paused for a moment, then continued to charge towards the axe. The land of origin was indeed very tempting, but facing the sovereign divine weapon, they couldn't help but despair. Boom! Clang! The 6 heaven-defying divine artifact attacked, and a few cracks appeared on the axe's body. In just one round, it was heavily injured. Withdraw. At the same time, the sunset divine bow's artifact spirit roared. The divine might that was released immediately swept up countless sea beast corpses and blood, surging towards this side. The broken sword and the other 3 heaven-defying divine artifact were also swept back into a sea of blood. Don't even think about it. The 6 great ancestor dragons attacked, and their divine power blasted towards the blood like a waterfall. Scram! The sunset divine bow's artifact spirit roared. Whoosh! 6 arrows shot out, and the divine power of the 6 great ancestor dragons was immediately shattered. Blood flooded the sky and surged over like a huge wave. But at this moment, The divine light that shot out from the divine dragon island carried an aura that could destroy the heavens and exterminate the earth. Not good. The axe's artifact spirit roared, and without hesitation, he threw down the 6 great divine artifacts and slashed at the divine light with all his might. Clang! Accompanied by a deafening loud sound, the axe's artifact spirit screamed, and its body was torn into pieces. So strong. Qin Feiyang was shocked. The 5-colored armor formed by rust on his body directly collapsed. The 5-colored light also dissipated, turning back into ordinary rust and floating in the void. Too scary. Seeing this, the 6 great divine artifacts couldn't help but feel their hair stand on end, and they hurriedly retreated. Qin Feiyang, this is all we can do. The rest is up to you. Brothers, we chose this path ourselves. It's useless to regret it now. Let's kill. The Sunset Divine Bow's artifact spirit sighed, and without hesitation, it charged towards the divine light. Clang! The broken sword, iron fan, iron hammer, and golden longsword also carried a myriad of sharpness as they followed the Sunset Divine Bow, and like moths to a flame, they charged towards the divine bow. Qin Feiyang looked at the back of the 6 great divine artifacts, and his eyes couldn't help but moisten. The blood covered the sky and covered the earth. Absorb for me. Qin Feiyang roared towards the sky. A terrifying suction force suddenly spread out with him as the center. His entire body seemed to have turned into a blood-red vortex. The wind howled all around. The corpses of the sea beasts were directly crushed by the wind, and even their flesh and blood were absorbed by the blood-red longsword. Clang! Boom! The blood-red longsword trembled violently. With the influx of flesh and blood, its aura continued to soar. Kill! At this moment, the Sunset Divine Bow's artifact spirit roared again. Qin Feiyang looked up and saw the Sunset Divine Bow colliding with the divine light. Clang! There was no suspense. The Sunset Divine Bow broke on the spot, and the dazzling divine light quickly dimmed. The broken sword, iron fan, iron hammer, and golden longsword also charged towards the divine light one after another. Without exception. The 4 heaven-defying divine artifacts were also shattered. Even 6 heaven-defying divine artifacts can't stop it. Qin Feiyang murmured. This was a sovereign divine artifact. It was just a divine light, and it could even crush the heaven-defying divine artifacts that had been unsealed. Boom! After shattering the 6 heaven-defying divine artifacts, the divine light didn't stop at all. It shattered the void and charged towards Qin Feiyang. Its aura was also firmly locked onto him. The white-robed woman said, "Even if you get the blood, it's too late." The young man in red and the others also looked at Qin Feiyang with a cold smile on their faces. Sigh. The young man in red sighed. This young man was truly a rare talent. Unfortunately, he had chosen the wrong path and ruined his future. Otherwise, given some time, he would have become a peerless existence like the revered dragon. Too late. Am I really going to die here? I don't want to die like this. Qin Feiyang murmured to himself. If he died here, how could he face the 6 heaven-defying divine artifacts? No. I'm not at a dead end yet. Qin Feiyang roared. 2 waves of fire surged out from behind him. Clang! A 9-leaf fire lotus and a crimson battle sword appeared in the void above him. That was right. These were the 2 battle souls that he had overlooked. Back then, they could even block the terrifying ice dragon. A divine light from a sovereign divine artifact would definitely be able to do the same. Chapter 25:11. Swoosh! In the blink of an eye. The beam of divine light shot toward Yushangong. The terrifying pressure caused Qin Feiyang's pores to bleed. He felt as though his body was about to be crushed. However, Qin Feiyang ignored this and continued to absorb the blood. He did not dare to enter the ancient castle. Even the 6 heaven-defying artifacts could not stop it. The ancient castle would not be able to do the same. Most importantly, the ancient castle was now merged with the Black Tortoise realm. If the ancient castle was destroyed, the Black Tortoise realm would be destroyed as well. It would be fine if there was no one in the Black Tortoise realm. However, there were millions of living beings in the Black Tortoise realm. Moreover, these living beings had helped him before. He could not let them risk their lives with him. I believe in you. You can do it. Qin Feiyang said in a low voice. His only hope at this moment was the 2 war souls. At this moment, his body was already cracking. Cracking sounds could be heard. This was the sound of his bones shattering. However, he did not even frown from the beginning until the end. Crack. Just as the divine light was about to envelop him, the 9-leaf fire lotus finally reacted. A loud noise rang in the air. 9 fire lotus leaves fell off. They spread out and surrounded him like 9 shields. Clang! The divine light struck one of the fire lotus leaves. An earth-shattering explosion rang in the air. The divine light and the fire lotus leaves shattered at the same time. How's this possible? Qin Feiyang's eyes widened in anger. Back then, even the ice dragon was helpless against the fire lotus leaves. However, a beam of divine light was able to shatter one of the fire lotus leaves. Could it be that the ice dragon was weaker than a sovereign divine weapon? Qin Feiyang found this hard to accept. However, Long Zun, the young man in fiery robes, the 6 ancestral dragons, and the 6 heaven-defying artifacts were extremely shocked. What kind of war soul was this? It managed to block a sovereign divine weapon's attack. They all thought that Qin Feiyang was dead for sure. After all, a sovereign divine weapon was comparable to a creator god. No one and nothing was a match for it. However, at this moment, a war soul, moreover, it was only a leaf, and it managed to block the divine light. How many heaven-defying techniques was this young man hiding? Qin Feiyang's eyes. Fresh blood continuously flowed into the blood-red longsword, and its power became more and more terrifying. The current blood-red longsword could easily inflict serious damage to a heaven-defying artifact that had been unsealed. The 6 ancestor dragons looked at Longzuan and couldn't help but feel nervous. And they were confident confidenta. They couldn't help but wonder if the dragon clan could really defeat this young man. The fiery lotus fighting soul was already so terrifying. What about the scarlet soul next to it? Revered dragon examined Qin Feiyang closely. Suddenly, he took a deep breath and looked in the direction of Divine Dragon Island. He said sincerely, the might of a sovereign cannot be offended. At that moment, the sacred mountain on the island emitted a large amount of milky white light, turning into dozens of divine lights, shooting towards them like meteors. The aura of each divine light was firmly locked onto Qin Feiyang. He won't be able to block it this time. The 6 ancestral dragons muttered. Clang! However, at the next moment, the red sword soul suddenly trembled in the void. Roar! Following that, a flaming beast roared out from the sword soul. At that moment, Dragon Sovereign, the others, and the heaven-defying divine artifacts all looked at the scarlet sword soul and the fiery beast soul. Boom! As soon as the flaming beast appeared, it roared into the sky, and a terrifying aura swept out in all directions like a tide. Furthermore, the crimson sword soul was also growing in size. In an instant, 1,000 feet long giant sword appeared out of thin air, and its sharpness shrouded the world. At that moment, even the sovereign divine realm began to tremble. What? Dragon Sovereign and the rest stared angrily. Sword soul. Beast soul. What kind of war soul was this? It could even shake the sovereign divine realm. Roar. Clang. The flaming beast soul roared, and the red sword soul suddenly trembled. Then, with the power to destroy the world, it shattered the void and blasted toward the dozens of divine lights. There was still a long distance between Divine Dragon Island and Qin Feiyang's current location. Therefore, the two would not collide for the time being. However, even Dragon Sovereign could not help but feel uneasy when he looked at the Sword Soul and Beast Soul. All of a sudden, she lowered her head to look at the 6 heaven-defying weapons and shouted, "Quick, stop him from absorbing the blood." Although she had seen the slaughter domain a long time ago, she still knew nothing about it. Nobody knew how far the slaughter domain would grow in the end. Moreover, whether it was the 9-leaf fire lotus, the sword soul, or the beast soul, they were all Qin Feiyang's war souls. Only by killing him could all of this disappear. Clang! When the 6 heaven-defying weapons heard this, they revealed their sharpness and shot toward Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang has already displayed his strength. I'm sure all of you know Qin Feiyang's temper. I'm afraid the consequences of going against him will be worse than going against Dragon Sovereign. You'd better think this through. The Axe's artifact spirit shouted. When the 6 heaven-defying weapons heard this, they stopped in the air. Kill him now. Dragon Sovereign said again, his voice stern. The 6 heaven-defying weapons trembled and charged toward Qin Feiyang again. Humph. With the 9-leaf fire lotus's protection, you won't be able to kill me. Moreover, the slaughter domain's current power is enough to heavily injure all of you. Following me is the best choice for all of you. Qin Feiyang snorted coldly as he looked at Dragon Sovereign and the 6 heaven-defying weapons while absorbing the blood. The 6 heaven-defying weapons stopped again. They were conflicted. For them, it was a difficult choice to make. On one hand, there was the ruler of the ancient realm who even had a sovereign divine weapon. On the other hand, there was a rising star. Although his cultivation base was weak and he didn't have a sovereign divine weapon, he had a battle soul that could fight against a sovereign divine weapon. Most importantly, he still had an independent world under his control. The decision they made now would affect them for the rest of their lives. They really didn't know how to choose. As the Axe's artifact spirit said, if you continue to oppose me, I'll destroy all of you when I upgrade my slaughter domain to the 4th stage. No. I can destroy all of you right now. Killing intent flashed in Qin Feiyang's eyes. The blood-red sword emitted a destructive light. The 6 heaven-defying weapons shuddered. They were all heaven-defying weapons. Naturally, they could see the blood-red sword's current power. With the blood-red sword's current sharpness, it could easily injure them. What are you doing? Are you really going to defect? You've been with us dragons for so many years. You should know that since ancient times, no one who went against us dragons had a good ending. Longzuan shouted. The 6 heaven-defying weapons trembled and emitted a monstrous aura. They swept toward Qin Feiyang. Seeing this, a smile immediately appeared on the faces of Longzun and the others. The dragons ruled the ancient world. They were the rulers of this world. No one could change this. Even the heaven-defying weapons had to submit to them. Sigh. Qin Feiyang sighed. It was a pity. If the 6 heaven-defying weapons followed him, he would have more confidence in facing the dragons in the future. Although it was impossible to defeat a sovereign divine weapon, at least he could easily get rid of Longzuan and the other ancestral dragons. Since they couldn't be used by him, they could only be destroyed. Clang! He waved the blood-red sword. 6 streaks of sword chi tore through the sky and attacked the 6 heaven-defying weapons. However, the 6 heaven-defying weapons didn't meet the attack. They quickly avoided the 6 streaks of sword chi and continued to rush toward Qin Feiyang. You've underestimated the slaughter domain. Qin Feiyang smiled coldly. However, right at the moment when he was planning to attack again, the 6 great heaven-defying divine artifacts suddenly scattered. They respectively flew to Qin Feiyang's 6 different directions and surrounded the blood that filled the sky, as well as Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang was stunned. The thin sword spirit shouted, "Hurry up and absorb it. We'll protect you." What? Qin Feiyang was shocked. Longzuan and the others were also shocked. Protect him? Did they decide to follow him? This is your decision. Longzuan came back to his senses and asked gloomily. That's right. Compared to Qin Feiyang, you're really too weak. You should know what the land of origin is. But Qin Feiyang let the sunset bow and the others enter the land of origin to cultivate. And you? We've worked for you for so many years, but you never let us enter the sacred mountain. Until now, we don't even know what the sovereign divine weapon looks like. This is the difference between humans. So we've decided to follow him in the future. The thin sword spirit said. Hearing the spirit's words, Longzuan's face that was shrouded in mist was livid at this moment. You've made the right choice. The axe spirit laughed. The spirits of the sunset bow and the other heaven-defying weapons were also overjoyed. Following closely, they controlled their broken bodies and flew around Qin Feiyang. Together with the 6 heaven-defying weapons, they protected Qin Feiyang tightly. Damn it, damn it. You all really deserve to die. My dragons have always been good to you, but you betrayed us. Sure enough, divine weapons like you are all heartless bastards. The 6 ancestral dragons were furious. We've always been in a mutually beneficial relationship with the dragons. How can you say that we betrayed you? Besides, you should thank us. If it weren't for us, would you dragons have ruled the ancient world for so many years? The spirit of the sunset bow sneered. Without you, my dragons would still be the masters of this world. Who can compete with the sovereign divine weapon? Longzuan said proudly. Boom! As soon as his voice fell. In the distance, there was a loud noise that shook the sky. The sword spirit and beast spirit finally collided with the dozens of divine lights. At that moment, the void suddenly turned into chaos. The sovereign divine realm also trembled violently and even distorted. That destructive aura turned into a surging wave that surged out in all directions with an earth-shattering momentum. The void was annihilated. It was like the end of the world. Chapter 25:12. Protect Qin Feiyang. The sunset divine bow's artifact spirit shouted. That surging aura could really be described as apocalyptic. If it were not for the sovereign's god domain, the entire divine land would have been razed to the ground. However, before the sunset divine bow's artifact spirit could finish speaking, Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice, "You can't stop it. Come to my side." This destructive power was the limit of a heaven-defying artifact's endurance. Apart from the remaining 8 fire lotus leaves, no one could stop it. Unheard of. The 12 heaven-defying artifacts immediately rushed to Qin Feiyang's side. I'll leave it to you. Qin Feiyang looked at the 8 fire lotus leaves and muttered to himself. Swoosh! Boom! The shockwave roared with the deafening sound of wind and thunder. Whiz! At the same time, the 8 fire lotus leaves suddenly burst into flames and released a majestic aura. They linked together and formed a huge fire barrier. The shockwave slammed into the barrier, causing it to tremble. However, it did not shatter. The 12 heaven-defying artifacts heaved sighs of relief. Wait! Look! Although the sovereign's god domain is distorted, it shows no signs of shattering. The sunset divine bow's artifact spirit said in a deep voice. When Qin Feiyang heard this, he looked up. As expected. The sovereign's god domain was distorted greatly, but it did not shatter. Not even a tiny crack could be seen on it. In other words, Even the 9-leaf fire lotus leaves and the crimson sword soul could not break the sovereign's god domain. In the distance. In the void. The sword soul and beast soul's aura were majestic as they shattered the beams of divine light. However, the sword soul and beast soul were crumbling bit by bit. Boom! In the end, the sword soul and beast soul disintegrated with a loud bang. However, 6 of the dozens of beams of divine light remained. They were charging toward Qin Feiyang. Moreover, their auras were still locked on to Qin Feiyang. How terrifying is a sovereign's divine weapon? Axe and the other artifact spirits were in disbelief. Boom! 6 streaks of divine light swept over like lightning, bombarding the fire barrier. With a cracking sound, the barrier shattered into pieces. 6 beams of divine light bombarded the 6 fire lotus leaves. Immediately, the 6 beams of divine light and the 6 fiery lotus leaves shattered in response. As a result, there were only 2 fire lotus leaves left. In other words, now, he could still block 2 more divine lights. However, no one knew how many more divine lights would appear on Divine Dragon Island's holy mountain. The most important thing was, the sovereign's weapon hidden in the sacred mountain had yet to appear. Just the divine light it emitted was already so terrifying. What about the divine weapon itself? It was hard to imagine. When the sovereign divine weapon made its move, what kind of desperate situation would Qin Feiyang and the others be in? The axe artifact spirit asked, Qin Feiyang, you still haven't reached the 4th stage? No. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Although the power of the blood-colored long sword was enough to crush a heaven-defying artifact, he could feel that it was still far from the sovereign divine weapon. The axe artifact spirit shouted at the 6 heaven-defying artifacts, hurry up and get some more blood now. Boom! It was also at this moment, dozens of divine lights once again appeared on the sacred mountain of Divine Dragon Island, carrying the power to destroy the world, and rushed towards Qin Feiyang. Damn it! Qin Feiyang couldn't see, but he could sense it. Because the aura of these divine lights had locked onto him the moment they appeared. It's too late to collect the blood now. Moreover, the blood of this half of the inner sea has already been collected by you. If you want to collect it now, you have to go to the other half of the inner sea. But the distance is too far. Unless you master the laws of space and time and directly travel there, you will be killed by the divine lights before we can get there. The thin sword artifact spirit said in a deep voice. Frankly speaking, they were all beginning to regret it now. They thought that Qin Feiyang had the ability to fight against the sovereign divine weapon and break through the sovereign divine realm. But the result was not just a little bit. But what was done, and it was too late to regret it. The laws of space and time, Qin Feiyang murmured. Chen Shui and the demon ancestor Snowflake had mastered the laws of space and time, but these 2 artifacts were not here now. The axe artifact spirit asked, none of you have mastered the laws of space and time? No. The thin sword artifact spirit said. What should we do? The axe artifact spirit couldn't help but panic. The gate of space and time. Qin Feiyang suddenly said. The gate of space and time. Why did you suddenly mention it? Could it be that it can take us to the other side of the inner sea? You tried at the beginning, but you couldn't open the gate of space and time here. The artifact spirit of the sunset bow said. Indeed, it can't be opened. But at that time, I opened the coordinates leading to the outside. If it's in the sovereign divine realm, I think it should be possible. Give me the coordinates of the other side of the inner sea. Qin Feiyang looked at the sunset bow and said. The sunset bow had worked for the dragons, so it must know the inner sea like the back of its hand. Are you sure it's possible? The sunset bow artifact spirit asked. We'll know when we try. Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice. Now it's just a Hail Mary effort. The sunset bow sighed and gave Qin Feiyang a coordinate. Qin Feiyang immediately took out the gate of space and time and poured in his divine power. Clang! With a loud sound, the gate of space and time was successfully opened. It's possible. The Sunset Bow and the other divine artifacts were overjoyed. Let's go. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and rushed into the gate of space and time with the slaughter domain. The 12 divine artifacts hurriedly followed in. Let's go too. Longzuan waved his hand and the void in front of him split open. Then, he rushed in with the fire-robed youth and the 6 ancestral dragons. At the same time, the dozens of divine lights also stopped in the void. When Qin Feiyang went through the gate of space and time and teleported to the other side of the inner sea, the dozens of divine lights also turned in the air and continued to attack Qin Feiyang. On the other side of the inner sea, the sea water was blood-red and there were countless sea beast corpses floating on the sea surface. The air was filled with the smell of blood that couldn't be dispersed. So much. It's definitely enough for me to upgrade the slaughter domain to the 4th stage. Qin Feiyang looked at the blood-red sea and his eyes were full of fire. He immediately put away the gate of space and began to absorb. The thin sword and the other divine artifacts also began to help collect. Whoosh! Longzuan and the group also appeared outside the sovereign's domain. Lord Longzuan, seeing that there was so much blood below, the 6 ancestral dragons became nervous. They wanted to go down and stop it. However, although the broken sword and the other divine artifacts were severely damaged by the divine lights and their strength fell greatly, there were still the thin sword and the other divine artifacts. The seals of each of them were unlocked. If they dared to enter the sovereign's domain, the 6 divine artifacts would definitely kill them immediately and they would not have the strength to fight back. Don't panic. I don't believe that the slaughter domain can really grow to the level of a sovereign weapon. Longzuan snorted coldly. But in his heart, he was also a little worried. The 10 divine artifacts had all rebelled. If the dragons did not use the sovereign weapon, there was no way they could fight with Qin Feiyang. These damn things. Sooner or later, I will crush your bones and destroy your soul. Staring at the sunset divine bow and the other divine artifacts, Longzuan's eyes were full of hatred. This hatred was even more than the hatred for Qin Feiyang. Whoosh! The dozens of divine lights had also returned to the sky above Divine Dragon Island and rushed toward Qin Feiyang without any hesitation. This is not enough time. Quickly take the blood and enter the ancient castle. Qin Feiyang shouted. The 12 divine artifacts immediately displayed their heaven-defying methods and swept up all the blood and sea beast corpses. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and everyone appeared in the sky above the Black Tortoise world. Quickly! Qin Feiyang roared. Hurricanes roared in all directions and his entire body was drowned in blood. The power of the blood-red sword was getting stronger and stronger. Although the 6 divine artifacts had just arrived in the Black Tortoise world, they were not in the mood to observe and were nervously staring at Qin Feiyang. A day outside was equivalent to 100 years in the Black Tortoise world. As long as they arrived in the Black Tortoise world, they could definitely absorb all the blood before the dozens of divine lights arrived. Outside. Lord Longzuan, you must kill this kid today. 12 divine artifacts, if he escapes, there will be endless trouble in the future. The 6 ancestral dragons were worried. After killing Qin Feiyang, the sunset divine bow and the other divine artifacts would give up. Also, after killing Qin Feiyang, they could obtain the ancient castle and the Black Tortoise world. Not to mention the ancient castle, they had always wanted to snatch it. As for the Black Tortoise world, they did not know that it was an independent world, so they did not pay much attention to it. But now that they knew, as long as there was a chance, they would snatch it. They, the dragons, were already strong enough. If they could obtain an independent world, it would be like adding wings to a tiger. The fire-robed youth glanced at the 6 ancestral dragons and looked at Longzuan suspiciously. Longzuan, Why don't you ask the main body of the sovereign divine weapon? If the main body of the sovereign divine weapon appears, it should be easy to kill them. Yes, Lord Longzuan. Ask the main body of the sovereign divine weapon to come out. The 6 ancestral dragons were slightly stunned and looked at Longzuan in confusion. There was also some anticipation in their eyes. Longzuan sighed. The sovereign divine weapon is not something that the main body can control. I am only willing to help because of him. Him. The fire-robed youth was slightly stunned and asked, "Who is he?" Longzuan frowned and said reluctantly, "Dragon God." Dragon God. The 6 ancestral dragons' eyes trembled. So it's him. The fire-robed youth nodded and asked, "Then where is the Dragon God now? Why don't we ask him to come back? With his strength, he can kill Qin Feiyang with a snap of his fingers. Don't mention that irresponsible stinky man again. The dragons control the ancient world and have a lot of things to deal with every day. But he doesn't care about anything and only knows how to run around all day. Where is he?" Longzuan said angrily. The fire-robed youth smiled helplessly. The 6 ancestral dragons smiled bitterly. Who would have thought that there was someone in this world that Longzuan couldn't subdue? Whoosh! The dozens of divine lights finally arrived. After Qin Feiyang entered the ancient castle, his aura firmly locked onto the ancient castle that was floating in the void. You must kill him. The 6 ancestral dragons looked at the dozens of divine lights and roared. Because now, they could only place their hopes on these divine lights. Chapter 25:13. Dozens of beams of divine light shot toward the ancient castle floating in the void with overwhelming divine might. Even the various heaven-defying divine artifacts in the Black Tortoise world felt a great sense of threat. Whoosh! But suddenly, a blood-red figure appeared. It was Qin Feiyang. Clang! The blood had been completely absorbed. At this moment, the blood-red sword looked like it was formed from the flesh and blood of thousands of living beings. It emitted an unparalleled murderous aura. Kill! Qin Feiyang shouted. He held the blood-red sword and charged toward the divine light without hesitation. The remaining 2 fire lotus leaves shot out beams of divine light, protecting him in the middle. Qin Feiyang didn't know how powerful the slaughter zone was now. He didn't even know if it could fight against the divine light. But now, it was obvious that he could only fight to the death. Boom! Clang! Finally, the blood-red sword collided with the first divine light. Heaven and earth lost their color at this moment. The destructive aura was earth-shattering. Poof! Even with the protection of the 2 fire lotus leaves, Qin Feiyang was still sent flying, blood spurting out of his mouth. But the divine light was also shattered because of this. Yes. Even though he was seriously injured, Qin Feiyang was overjoyed at this scene. The power of the slaughter zone was enough to fight against the divine light. Open! Qin Feiyang shouted. A blood-red armor appeared on his body. Battle Symbol Art. The Battle Symbol Art could reduce 90% of the attack power. With the protection of the 2 fire lotus leaves, even if he continued to be injured in the following collision, he wouldn't die. You want me to die? I won't die. Qin Feiyang looked up at Longzuan and the others and laughed wildly. Then, he charged toward the divine light like a demon god. Boom! Crack! Accompanied by earth-shattering sounds, the blood-red sword continued to shatter the divine light. As if possessed by the god of war, he was unstoppable. Longzuan and the others couldn't help but feel a chill down their spines. What kind of young man is this? Even at this stage, not only did he not give up, he fought even harder. Also, what kind of heaven-defying divine art was this slaughter zone? How could it allow a mere peerless god to have the ability to fight against a sovereign weapon? Wait a minute. Could it be that this slaughter domain wasn't a heaven-defying divine art? It was a sovereign-level divine art. Impossible. Even the dragons didn't have a sovereign-tier divine art, let alone a mere human. However, the scene in front of them made it impossible for them to deny this idea. If the slaughter domain wasn't a sovereign-level divine art, how could it fight against the divine light of a sovereign-level divine weapon? If slaughter domain was a heaven-defying divine art, it would definitely be impossible for it to grow to such a level. It was hard to imagine. Qin Feiyang's face was also extremely pale. Although the blood-red longsword's sharpness could shatter the divine light, and although he had the protection of the battle character formula and the 2 fire lotus leaves, his injuries were getting more and more serious. Every time it collided with the divine light, it would spew out blood. However, his eyes were bloodshot, and he didn't care about his injuries at all. He crazily shattered the beams of divine light. About 10 breaths later, those beams of divine light finally all dissipated. Qin Feiyang was also half-kneeling in the air, gasping for air. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth, and his face was completely pale. At this moment, after this crazy battle, his internal organs had all been shattered. A sovereign-level divine weapon was indeed terrifying. Even if the slaughter domain had grown to such a level, it still couldn't destroy it. Of course. In fact, the biggest reason was his cultivation level. His cultivation level was too weak. If his cultivation level was also at the imperishable realm, even if he couldn't destroy it, at least under the protection of the fire lotus leaves and the battle character formula, his injuries wouldn't be so serious. Yes. In the end, it was still because his cultivation level wasn't high enough. To kill him, the battle character formula, and the battle soul were strong, but they couldn't make up for the difference in his body. However, he could still fight. He slowly got up, looked up at Longzuan and the others, and shouted, "If you have the guts, come down and fight." His voice was like a bell, transmitted into the minds of Longzuan and the others. But no one said a word. Because at this moment, their hearts were actually suffused with terror towards Qin Feiyang. Longzuan took a deep breath, looked up at the sacred mountain of Divine Dragon Island, and said sincerely, "Please kill him." Qin Feiyang also looked at Divine Dragon Island. But it was too far. With his cultivation level, he couldn't see Divine Dragon Island. "Please, Lord Divine Weapon." The 6 ancestor dragons knelt in the air, looking at Divine Dragon Island. "I still need blood," Qin Feiyang whispered, looking around the sea. Although the blood-red sword could destroy the divine light now, it was only the divine light released by the sovereign divine weapon. The sovereign divine weapon's body was definitely several times stronger than the divine light. If the sovereign divine weapon personally attacked, he probably wouldn't have any power to fight back. So, if he wanted to defeat the sovereign divine weapon, he still needed a lot of blood, and he still needed to improve the slaughter domain. But now, the entire inland sea had been destroyed in the process of the battle, and there wasn't even any seawater left, let alone blood. Slaughter domain. How much blood do you need to absorb to reach the 4th stage? The 4th stage, does it really exist? Qin Feiyang sighed. How vast was the inland sea? How many sea beasts were there? But even after absorbing the blood of all the sea beasts in the inland sea, he still couldn't reach the 4th stage. This made him suspicious. No. I can't continue like this. Because it wasn't worth sacrificing here. Qin Feiyang clenched his fists, raised the blood-red sword, and slashed at the sovereign divine realm. Since the blood-red sword could destroy the divine light, it should also be able to break the sovereign divine realm. Seeing this, Longzuan and the others who were standing outside instinctively retreated. Because they were all afraid that the blood-red sword would break the sovereign divine realm and affect them. "Break for me!" Qin Feiyang roared. The blood-red sword slashed at the sovereign divine realm. Thousands of sword chi, peerless sharpness, crazily attacked the sovereign divine realm. The sovereign divine realm trembled violently and twisted, but there were no signs of breaking. Could it be that even the current slaughter can't be broken? No. I don't believe it. Shatter for me. Qin Feiyang gritted his teeth, all the power in his body burst out, the blood vessels and meridians all over his body bulged. Crack. Suddenly, a weak sound rang out. At the tip of the blood-red sword, a small crack appeared in the enchantment. What? Longzuan and the others were shocked. Qin Feiyang was wild with joy. Since it could break a little, as long as he put in more effort, he could definitely break this sovereign divine realm. Lord Divine Weapon. The 6 ancestral dragons looked at the sacred mountain of Divine Dragon Island and roared anxiously. That sovereign divine weapon seemed to be hesitating. Clang. But in the end, it still chose to make a move. Accompanied by a loud sound that tore the sky and earth, a milky white sword light swept out from the sacred mountain and rushed toward Qin Feiyang. Its aura was also firmly locked onto Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang's eyes trembled. The sense of crisis that this sword light gave him was countless times stronger than those divine lights. It seemed that those divine lights were just the tip of the iceberg of the sovereign divine weapon. The true strength of the sovereign divine weapon was far beyond the slaughter at this moment. The slaughter was unparalleled. Break. Qin Feiyang's heart was also burning with anxiety as he stared at that tiny crack. However, he was already exhausted. That crack not only did not get bigger, but it was also healing. The speed of that sword light was also extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it had already swept into this sea area. Qin Feiyang's face was as calm as water. With a thought in his mind, the 12 great heaven-defying divine weapons appeared. Quickly follow me to attack the sovereign divine realm. Qin Feiyang shouted. The 12 great heaven-defying divine weapons, when sensing the aura of the sword light, couldn't help but feel their scalps go numb. Boom! Without hesitation, the 6 great heaven-defying divine weapons, such as the thin sword, instantly fully recovered. The 6 great divine weapons, such as the axe, were shattered and unable to fully recover, but they still gave it their all. Break for me! Qin Feiyang roared. The blood-red sword and the 12 great heaven-defying divine weapons instantly bombarded the enchantment. Crack! Immediately, a half-meter-long crack appeared. Stop the recovery, quickly get out. Qin Feiyang immediately turned from grief to joy, immediately suppressed the power of the blood-red sword, turned into a stream of light and shuttled through the crack. The 12 great heaven-defying divine weapons followed closely behind. As for stopping the recovery of the divine weapons and suppressing the power of the blood-red sword, once they left the sovereign divine realm, with the power of the blood-red sword at this moment, and the unsealed state of the other divine weapons, it was enough to destroy all directions. Finally escaped. Whether it was Qin Feiyang or the 12 great heaven-defying divine weapons, there was a feeling of surviving a disaster in their hearts. All of you go to hell. Qin Feiyang looked at Longzuan and the others, and the blood-red sword slashed out angrily. However, Longzuan seemed to have expected this. When Qin Feiyang attacked, he took the fire-robed youth and the 6 great ancestral dragons into the sovereign divine realm. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and looked down at the crack below. The half-meter-long crack had been repaired. Of course. Even if it was not repaired, Qin Feiyang would not dare to enter the sovereign divine realm again. Moreover, the sword light had also arrived. Even if you escape from the sovereign divine realm, you can't escape the internal sea. Because the internal sea cannot open the altar. You have already opened the space-time gate. So, you still have to die. Longzuan sneered again and again. Go! Qin Feiyang roared. Indeed. The internal sea could not be teleported. The space-time gate could not be opened now. Their crisis was not over yet. The 6 great heaven-defying divine weapons, including the thin sword, heard Qin Feiyang's roar and immediately took Qin Feiyang and the other 6 great heaven-defying divine weapons away. You can't escape. Longzuan shouted coldly. Whoosh! Just as Longzuan's voice fell, the sword light swept over, ignoring the sovereign divine realm, and went straight for Qin Feiyang and the 12 great heaven-defying divine weapons. However, this sword light did not seem to want to implicate innocent creatures, so after leaving the sovereign divine realm, it suppressed its destructive power. Damn it! The weapon spirit of the thin sword roared. The weapon spirit of the axe sighed, Qin Feiyang, we have really tried our best, we can only rely on you now. Whoosh! Qin Feiyang turned his head to look at the sword light behind him that was getting closer and closer, took a deep breath, and said, You guys run, I will stop it. Chapter 25:14. What? The thin sword and the other divine artifacts were shocked. He actually told them to run first. How could there be such a stupid human in this world? According to the selfish nature of humans, shouldn't he let them block the sword while he ran first? But was he really stupid? No. This was loyalty. He would rather take the risk himself than let others sacrifice themselves. This little guy was indeed different from other humans. It was no wonder that so many people, with so many divine artifacts, followed him wholeheartedly. The ones who felt the most were the Sunset Divine Bow, the Golden Sword, the Iron Fan, and the Iron Hammer. The reason for that was because they had spoken to Qin Feiyang about camaraderie. They didn't really agree with the principles that Qin Feiyang said back then. But at this moment, seeing Qin Feiyang step forward and tell them to run first, they finally understood the meaning of this word. So this was loyalty. How touching. Don't hesitate anymore, run. Qin Feiyang shouted. It was better for him to die alone than for them all to die here. No, you should be the one to go. If something happens to you here, how am I going to explain it to Fire Lotus? And the Black Tortoise Realm? There are so many living beings here, if you die, they will die too. The axe spirit shouted. You, Qin Feiyang looked at the broken pieces of the axe. Yes. If we go together, if we die together. What's the point of living alone? I can't afford to lose face like this. The Sunset Divine Bow spirit shouted. Qin Feiyang took another look at the Sunset God Bow, and his heart was also moved. The Sunset Divine Bow said such words, it meant that it had truly submitted to him. Whoosh! The divine light was getting closer and closer. Qin Feiyang and the 12 divine artifacts felt as if they had fallen into a bottomless ice cave. The thin sword spirit said, Awaken, let's fight. No. If we awaken now, the living beings around the inner sea will be affected. The axe spirit said. The weapon spirit of the thin sword said angrily, We can't even protect ourselves now, why do we still care about them? If we can perish together with the dragons, it doesn't matter. Either way, there will be losses. But now, the Sovereign's divine domain is protecting Divine Dragon Island. If we fight with the Sovereign divine weapon here, we won't be able to kill a single dragons. The ones who will die in vain will be the innocent creatures of the divine prefecture. Not worth it. The axe artifact spirit sighed. Ridiculous. Don't tell me that we're going to wait for death here for these tiny, pitiful creatures. Qin Feiyang, make a decision. Should we fight to the death, or should we stop and wait for death? The weapon spirit of the blood-red dagger also roared. Qin Feiyang remained silent. If he had a choice, he would rather die than implicate other innocent beings. But could it be done? He couldn't do it. Since it was war, there were bound to be sacrifices. Qin Feiyang exhaled a long breath, looked at the thin sword and other heaven-defying artifacts, and said, Awaken. You have to be so decisive. Because you have to give up something to gain something. The weapon spirit of the blood-red dagger laughed. The axe artifact spirit sighed and didn't say anything more. Because it was Qin Feiyang's decision. Wait. But just as the thin sword and other heaven-defying artifacts were about to awaken, a thunderous shout rolled over. This voice, Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned, and a trace of joy immediately climbed up his face. This was the voice of the ancestor. Swish. The next moment, a space-time crack appeared in the void. Following closely, a middle-aged man in a purple-gold robe appeared in front of Qin Feiyang. Ancestor. Qin Badian. Qin Feiyang was extremely excited. The 12 heaven-defying artifacts were also extremely excited. Qin Badian. However, Long Zun and the 6 great ancestral dragons who were standing in the dominating divine realm were furious. We'll meet again. Qin Badian glanced at Long Zun and the others, then took Qin Feiyang and the 12 heaven-defying artifacts, and rushed into the space-time crack without looking back, disappearing. Damn it! The 6 great ancestral dragons roared. It was not easy to have the opportunity to kill Qin Feiyang, but the result was ruined by Qin Badian. Long Zun's body was also filled with a dense murderous aura. If Qin Badian did not appear, then Qin Feiyang would definitely die. It was also at this moment. The sword light stopped. Don't stop, with your ability, you can definitely catch up with them. Can we get rid of you and kill them? The 6 great ancestral dragons roared. However, the sword light was gradually dissipating. Please, help us this time. Just this one time. Seeing this, the 6 great ancestral dragons roared unwillingly. However, the sword light turned a deaf ear to them and soon dissipated in the void. Bastard, bastard. Qin Feiyang, Qin Badian, Sunset Divine Bow, I swear to the heavens, I will not let you go. The 6 great ancestral dragons roared again and again. They had spent so much effort to force Qin Feiyang and the 12 heaven-defying artifacts to a dead end, but in just an instant, all their efforts were in vain. How could they be willing to accept this? Sigh. The young man in fiery clothes looked at the 6 great ancestral dragons and sighed at Long Zun. Qin Badian controls the space-time laws, it's difficult to deal with him. Long Zun had not spoken, but when he heard what the young man in fiery clothes said, he turned and left without looking back. Lord Long Zun, is that it? The 6 great ancestral dragons hurriedly looked at Long Zun and asked. However, Long Zun still did not say a word and gradually disappeared from the sight of the young man in fiery clothes and the 6 great ancestral dragons. Lord Long Zun, the 6 great ancestral dragons shouted. Stop shouting. The anger in Long Zun's heart is no less than yours, but what can we do? He has already escaped. Unless the sovereign divine weapon takes action, but without the dragon god's order, the sovereign divine weapon will not take action. The young man in fiery clothes sighed. Lord Dragon God, where are you? Can't you see that the dragons have suffered such heavy injuries? Come back quickly. The dragons need you now. The 6 great ancestral dragons roared, their voices echoing in the sky above the inner sea for a long time. The north. In the sky above a certain forest. Qin Feiyang, Qin Badian, and the 12 heaven-defying artifacts appeared out of thin air. Qin Feiyang immediately looked down and asked, where is this? Qin Badian said, somewhere in the north. Qin Feiyang finally heaved a sigh of relief. Qin Badian looked at the 12 heaven-defying artifacts, and then looked at the current Qin Feiyang. What a strong baleful aura. Next. He then looked at the blood-colored sword in Qin Feiyang's hand and frowned slightly. Qin Badian, thank you. The sunset bow and the other heaven-defying artifacts also finally relaxed. At the same time, they were filled with emotions. They never would have thought that in the end, it was their former mortal enemy who came to save their lives. Qin Badian looked up at the sunset bow and the other 10 heaven-defying artifacts, and laughed, "It's not easy to hear you say thank you. Don't be cocky. Otherwise, on account of Qin Feiyang's face, we'll give you a break." The weapon spirit of the blood-colored dagger snorted. Qin Batian smiled slightly. Qin Feiyang asked, "Ancestor, how did you know that we were in the inner sea?" "How could I not know such a big thing had happened? When the Dominator's divine domain appeared, I had already rushed to the inner sea. But even if I master the space-time law, I can't enter the Dominator's divine domain." Qin Batian sighed. "So that's how it is." Qin Feiyang nodded in realization. "I say, kid, you're really a newborn calf that's not afraid of a tiger. The last time you went to the inner sea to collect blood, it wasn't enough, and now you're going in again. How is it? You've suffered." Qin Batian looked helpless. Qin Feiyang smiled embarrassedly and said, "Then I don't know what Dominator's divine domain and divine weapon are. Speaking of which, it's also your responsibility. Why didn't you tell me such an important thing in advance? If he had known, he definitely wouldn't have gone." "You're blaming me?" Qin Batian was stunned. "If not you, who should I blame? It was you who gave me the task of replacing the city lord, so I entered the inner sea." Qin Feiyang pursed his lips. "Even if I gave you the task, you could have used other methods. Besides, this task doesn't have a time limit. You can take it slowly. Is there a need to be so extreme?" Qin Batian said angrily. "There's no time limit. But who has the time to take it slowly? I also need to cultivate, okay? Besides, I have a lot of trivial things to do." Qin Feiyang snorted coldly. "Don't think that I don't know. You gave this task to your subordinates. What can you do?" Qin Batian said with some disdain. "I don't think so. Although Li Changhe and the others are my subordinates, they're also my friends. I have to think for them too. I can't let them spend thousands or tens of thousands of years to complete this task, right? They also need to cultivate. This will take up too much time. Since they've followed me, I naturally have to be responsible for them. Don't you think so?" Qin Feiyang said. "You brat," Qin Batian was extremely angry. He raised his hand and was about to slap Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang straightened his back and looked straight at Qin Batian. Qin Batian couldn't help but feel helpless. He knocked Qin Feiyang's head and scolded, "Brat, you can make a lot of sense out of everything." "It does make sense." Qin Feiyang rubbed his head and laughed mischievously. Qin Batian rolled his eyes and looked at Qin Feiyang. He frowned and said, "Don't open the slaughter zone in the future." "Why?" Qin Feiyang was stunned and asked suspiciously. "Didn't you notice? The more you open the slaughter zone, the stronger your killing intent and hostility. I'm worried that as time goes by, it may have some effect on you." Qin Batian said worriedly. Qin Feiyang fell silent and nodded. "Actually, I've long realized that the slaughter zone will subtly change my personality. It's good that you're aware of it." Qin Batian smiled and looked at the sunset divine bow and the other heaven-defying artifacts. He said with a smile, "Thank you for protecting him and fighting side by side with him. It has nothing to do with you. Also, the Dragon Slayer Temple has nothing to do with us. Don't count us as a member of the Dragon Slayer Temple. We chose Qin Feiyang, not the Dragon Slayer Temple." The Sunset Divine Bow's spirit said coldly. Qin Batian shook his head and smiled bitterly. He cupped his hands and said, "No matter what, I have to thank you." The 10 heaven-defying artifacts ignored him. After fighting for so many years, it was impossible to resolve in a short time. Chapter 25:15. Qin Batian didn't mind. He looked at the broken sword and smiled. "Old friend, long time no see." The broken sword flew in front of Qin Batian and shook slightly. It seemed to be very excited. Ancestor. Back then, a divine treasure appeared in the reincarnation ocean. You, Mu Tianyang, the demon ancestor and ancestor Lu Xingyang all got a divine item. The demon ancestor got the 3,000 incarnations. Ancestor Lu Xingyang got the thieving heaven realm. Mu Tianyang got the gate of time and space. Is this the broken sword you obtained? Qin Feiyang asked curiously. That's right. Qin Badian smiled. Qin Feiyang nodded and said, then where did you obtain the other heaven-defying divine artifact, the fire pearl with violet gold divine dragons coiled around it? Qin Badian said, what does that have to do with you? Mind your own business. Qin Feiyang pouted and said, then, how did you get to the ancient world from the third level? Can you at least tell me? Why are you asking this? Qin Badian looked at him suspiciously. Qin Feiyang said, I'm guessing that the Fire Qilin and Uncle Beast God are in the third level now. Fire Qilin, Uncle Beast God, Qin Badian whispered. Qin Feiyang said, Great-grandmother and the others should have told you about the Fire Qilin and Uncle Beast God, right? Yes. Qin Badian nodded. This Uncle Beast God is really pitiful. After being sealed by you, his cultivation has been stuck at the false god level. Qin Feiyang sighed. He has to pay the price for doing wrong. If he had caused trouble back then, would I have sealed him? However, if he and the Fire Qilin really went to the third level, they might have gotten a lot of things. Qin Badian said. What things? Qin Feiyang was bewildered. How would I know? It depends on their own luck. Qin Badian was speechless. Qin Feiyang laughed dryly. He glanced at the broken sword and said, take it back. What is it? Qin Badian was suspicious. Qin Feiyang said, this was also Yi Xiaoyao's decision. He wanted to give it to me, but I didn't want it. This, Qin Badian hesitated for a moment before saying, all right then. I'll bring it back first and see if I can unlock its seal. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Qin Badian put away the broken sword, looked at Qin Feiyang and said, now that you've experienced the terror of the dragons, don't provoke them in the future, understand? I'm not stupid. If I see them again in the future, I will take a detour. Qin Feiyang said. That's for the best. The sovereign divine weapon and the dragon's dragon god are not something we can fight against now. What we need to do now is to recuperate and improve our cultivation. Qin Badian reminded. Understood. Qin Feiyang nodded. Qin Badian said, there's also Yi Zhong. Try your best to persuade him. Okay. Qin Feiyang replied helplessly. Don't look so wronged. If it weren't for your ability, would I have given you such an important task? Qin Badian said. Then I'll thank you, okay? Qin Feiyang was speechless. Qin Baishan's veins were bulging. He raised his arm and wanted to give Qin Feiyang a good smack. But he couldn't do it. Qin Badian shook his head helplessly and patted Qin Feiyang's shoulder gently. Good luck. I have faith in you. After saying that, he waved his hand and a space-time rift appeared. Then, he walked in without looking back. He had seen the entire battle in the inland sea. Qin Feiyang's performance really made him feel gratified, especially when he comprehended the law of light. Although he was just a beginner, he could be considered the first person in history to comprehend the law of light at the Paragon God realm. This kid's future achievements were immeasurable. The Sunset Divine Bao Artifact Spirit said, Qin Feiyang, I'll say it again. Although we've followed you, we have nothing to do with the Dragon Slayer Palace. Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback. He shook his head and said with a smile, to be honest, I was afraid that you would abandon me and run to the Dragon Slayer Palace. How is that possible? Do you think those trash from the Dragon Slayer Palace are worthy of serving us? The Sunset Divine Bao said disdainfully. Trash. Qin Feiyang couldn't help but smile bitterly. If the big shots of the Dragon Slayer Palace heard this, what kind of expression would they have? Qin Feiyang looked at the axe, then looked at the sunset divine bow, and then looked at the other 9 heaven-defying divine artifacts. He bowed and said, I really have to thank all of you this time. I, Qin Feiyang, will remember this favor for the rest of my life. If it weren't for these divine weapons sacrificing themselves to help, he would have died in the inland sea, not to mention breaking out of the sovereign realm and escaping. We don't care about the favor. We only care about actions. The sunset divine bow said. Alright, you guys go to the Black Tortoise world and let that little brat take you to the land of origin to cultivate. Qin Feiyang laughed. As soon as they heard about the land of origin, the weapon spirits of the 6 godly weapons, including the rapier, were all excited. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and sent the 11 divine weapons to the Black Tortoise world. Then, he lowered his head and looked at himself. Although this battle was riddled with scars, although this battle was a narrow escape, the harvest was not small. First of all, he knew about the sovereign realm and the sovereign divine weapon. Secondly, he knew that the dragons had a dragon god that was even more terrifying than the dragon sovereign. Finally, with the support of the 6 divine weapons. Therefore, including the ancient castle and Sang Shui, he had 12 heaven-defying treasures. Although the Chang Shui was in the hands of the small beast, he had to get it back no matter what. Huff. Qin Feiyang took a deep breath and closed the kill and battle scripts. The remaining 2 fire lotus leaves also dissipated. Immediately, a heart-tearing, lung-splitting pain swept over him. A wave of dizziness came from his mind. Bang! The next moment, he fell head-first into the forest below and fainted. He didn't even have time to enter the castle. One could imagine how serious his injuries were this time. The reason why he could stay awake before was because of the support of the battle tactics. But even if he closed the slaughter domain, his body was still filled with a shocking murderous aura. The nearby beasts were as powerful as the 9th heaven realm, but none of them dared to approach. At the same time, the north once again fell into chaos. Qin Feiyang's accomplices actually went to loot the medicine fields of the various city lord mansions. These damned bastards are simply lawless. Why don't the dragons come out and do something? People were terrified, afraid that they would be implicated. This matter. Soon, it reached the ears of the 6 ancestral dragons. Without a doubt, the 6 ancestral dragons were furious and murderous as they entered the north. But when they rushed there, Hui and the others had already disappeared. Outside the Holy Dragon City. Black Tortoise Mountain. Hui, Fire Lotus, Feng Daji, 5-clawed Golden Dragon, Li Changhe, Wang Daoyuan, Lei Bing, Jiang Dafei, and Madman gathered together. Everyone's face was full of smiles. This operation was very quiet, so it was only when it was about to end that this matter was exposed. So they smoothly killed the city lords and dragons envoys of the remaining hundreds of cities. It was also because of the looting of the medicine fields that everyone's attention was focused on the medicine fields, so the death of those city lords was automatically ignored. Fire Lotus raised her head and looked in the direction of the inland sea. She smiled and said, the movement in the inland sea has also disappeared. Qin Dage should have also escaped. I'll send a message to ask the young lord. Jiang Dafei took out an image crystal. However, after waiting for a long time, there was no response from Qin Feiyang. Fire Lotus's expression became nervous. Don't worry, this kid is even more cunning than an old fox. He will definitely be fine. Hui hurriedly comforted her and took out an image crystal. Let me try. Everyone looked at Hui, and the smile on their faces disappeared. Hui revived the image crystal. But after waiting for a long time, there was still no response from Qin Feiyang. What's going on? Hua Yi frowned. Lei Bing said, could it be that something happened to the young lord? Impossible. The 6 heaven-defying divine artifacts are all with Qin Dage. He will be fine. Fire Lotus shook her head. Don't worry. Hua Yi comforted her and turned to look at Lei Bing and Jiang Dafei. You two go back first. If there is any news, immediately send a message to us. Okay. The two opened the teleportation altar and quickly left. Hua Yi looked at Li Changhe and Wang Daoyuan and ordered, you two stay here. I, Fire Lotus, Madman, and Golden Dragon will go to the inland sea to take a look. Then you must be careful. If the young lord comes back, we will immediately send a message to you. Li Changhe and the other two said. Hua Yi nodded, took out an illusory form pill and threw it into his mouth. Then, he looked at Fire Lotus, Madman, and 5-clawed Golden Dragon and said, change your appearances. After changing their appearances, the 4 opened the altar and rushed to the inland sea. But when they arrived at the plains of the Dragon God mountain range, the 4 of them stopped. Because at this moment, outside the plains, countless people were gathered. Everyone looked in the direction of the inland sea, their eyes full of surprise. Why are there so many people? Hua Yi and the other 3 looked at each other and also looked up at the inland sea. Hua Yi, Fire Lotus, and 5-clawed Golden Dragon's cultivation had all reached the inextinguishable realm, so they could naturally see from far away. Standing outside the plains, they could faintly see the inland sea. In the sky above the inland sea, there was a milky white barrier of sound. That's right. That was the sovereign realm. What is that barrier? Qin Dage wouldn't still be trapped in the inland sea, right? Fire Lotus asked. Because as long as he was in the inland sea, he couldn't receive the message. Don't worry. I'll go ask. Hua Yi landed at the back of the crowd and walked to the side of a middle-aged man. He asked curiously, brother, did something happen in the inland sea? We don't know either. Previously, we sensed the aura of a heaven-defying divine artifact awakening in the inland sea. Originally, everyone was quite afraid, but after a long time, we didn't see any danger, so we came over to check it out. But the Dragon God mountain range has a rule that no one is allowed to step into the Dragon God mountain range, so we can only stand here. The middle-aged man said. Hua Yi frowned and asked, that is to say, you don't know what happened in the inland sea? Yes. But those at the peak of the 9 heavens realm vaguely saw that Qin Batian had arrived at the coast of the inland sea not long ago. The middle-aged man said. Qin Batian. Hua Yi was shocked. Qin Batian had also come. Did something really happen to Qin Feiyang? Otherwise, why would Qin Batian come? Chapter 25:16. Hua Yi asked calmly, are there any fluctuations from a battle? No. The middle-aged man shook his head. Hua Yi looked at the sovereign realm. The middle-aged man said no, but that didn't mean there really wasn't. The battle might have happened inside the barrier. But thinking about it, it was impossible. If he really fought with the dragons, the seal of the heaven-defying divine artifact would definitely be undone. How could a mere barrier block the power of the heaven-defying divine artifact? Or, Qin Feiyang was afraid of harming innocent creatures and didn't make a move. If that was the case, then he might really be trapped in the barrier right now. When Hua Yi returned to Fire Lotus and the others, he briefly told them what he heard. The 4 of them were also worried. Madman said, open the altar and go to the inner sea to take a look. We can't go. That's the forbidden area of the ancient world. Without the heaven-defying divine artifact, if we run there and are discovered by the dragons, we'll definitely die. The 5-clawed Golden Dragon said. Indeed, we can't go. Feng Daji nodded. He had guarded the inner sea for countless years, so he knew the situation of the inner sea better than anyone except the dragons. Fire Lotus said angrily, then are we just going to ignore Qin Dage? Miss Fire Lotus, don't worry. The young master has 6 heaven-defying divine artifacts. Even if he can't defeat the dragons, he can definitely protect himself. Let's wait. If there's no news from the young master before nightfall, we'll go and take a look. Feng Daji transmitted. Yes. We can't be impulsive at this time. If Qin Feiyang is really trapped in the inner sea, the dragons might think that we'll go find him. And they might hide in the inner sea and catch us off guard. Hua Yi, Madman, and the 5-clawed golden dragon all nodded in agreement. Fire Lotus could only suppress the worry in her heart. Time quietly passed. Evening came. Outside the plain, some people had already dispersed. Because an entire day had passed, but the inner sea was still as calm as ever. Let's go. Hua Yi clenched his teeth and prepared to open the altar and head to the inner sea. Whine. At this moment, the image crystal began to ring. Hua Yi was overjoyed. He said with a sound transmission, "It must be Qin Feiyang. Quickly follow me." The 4 of them found a deserted place. Hua Yi took out an image crystal, and a phantom appeared. But it was not Qin Feiyang, it was Jiang Dafei. What is it? Hua Yi looked suspiciously at Jiang Dafei. Jiang Dafei asked, "I just sent a message to the young lord, but he didn't respond. Is it because he hasn't been found yet?" "Yes." Hua Yi nodded. Jiang Dafei said solemnly, "Then you must not go to the inland sea." "Why?" Hua Yi and the others were puzzled. The upper echelons of the Dragon Slayer Palace have sent news that the dragons have opened the sovereign divine realm. I heard that even the heaven-defying divine weapon that unsealed the sovereign divine realm could not open it. Jiang Dafei said. What? The 4 of them were dumbstruck. Fire Lotus hurriedly said, "Then wouldn't Qin Dage be, you don't have to worry about young lord. Because the young lord has already left the internal sea. But I don't know why he didn't respond to my message." Jiang Dafei frowned. "Are you sure?" Fire Lotus asked. "Yes. This is the news from the upper echelons of the Dragon Slayer Palace. It can't be fake." Jiang Dafei nodded. "That's good." Fire Lotus finally heaved a sigh of relief. Hua Yi looked at Jiang Dafei and said with a smile, "You're really timely. Otherwise, we would have really gone to the inland sea. I was afraid that you would go to the inland sea, so I immediately sent a message to you after receiving the news. Go to Black Tortoise Mountain and wait. Maybe the young lord was delayed by something. I still have a mission. That's all." Jiang Dafei said with a smile. "What mission?" Hua Yi looked at him in confusion. The young lord entered the inland sea alone, fought the dragons and the 6 ancestral dragons, and took away the 6 heaven-defying divine weapons of the dragons. Such an important matter must be announced. Once this matter is exposed, the prestige of the dragon sovereign will plummet. Jiang Dafei said. What? He took away the 6 heaven-defying divine weapons. Hua Yi and the others were surprised. Looking at their reaction, Jiang Dafei was a little stunned. He then patted his head and said with a smile, "Look at my memory. The dragons have blocked this news, so you guys definitely don't know about it. Tell us, what happened?" Hua Yi asked. "It's a long story. When you find the young lord, you guys can ask him. I'll go and do my work first." After Jiang Dafei finished speaking, the shadow quickly dissipated. This guy is really keeping us in suspense. Hua Yi was furious. Fire Lotus, Frenzy, and the 5-clawed golden dragon also had a helpless expression. Speaking halfway was the most annoying. Alright, at least now we can confirm that Qin Feiyang is not in the inland sea. Let's go back to Black Tortoise Mountain first. Hua Yi said. Fire Lotus and the others nodded. The 4 opened the altar and left. What? Qin Feiyang entered the inland sea alone and fought the dragon sovereign and the 6 ancestral dragons. This guy is too crazy. He even snatched the 6 heaven-defying divine artifacts of the dragons. If that's the case, doesn't that mean the 10 heaven-defying divine artifacts of the dragons are now in Qin Feiyang's hands? And the dragon's Dominator Divine Domain and Dominator Divine Weapon. What are those things? I've only heard of heaven-defying divine artifacts. Is a Dominator Divine Weapon stronger than a heaven-defying divine artifact? I didn't expect the dragons to have such a terrifying trump card. But this Qin Feiyang is even more powerful. Not only did he subdue the 6 heaven-defying divine artifacts, but he also escaped from the Dominator Divine Domain. As expected of the descendant of Qin Batian. Whether it is courage or means, no one can compare to him. If this continues, Qin Feiyang will be able to destroy the dragons without the help of the dragon-slaying palace. What a terrifying young man. Where is he now? I kind of want to follow him. In less than an hour, what had happened in the internal sea spread wildly in the north. And the west, south, and east also received the news one after another. Everyone was shocked. Qin Feiyang's name also instantly rose with the tide. Now in the divine land, his prestige and reputation were no less than the 4 emperors of the dragon-slaying palace. Although his cultivation was still very weak at the moment, he was already in existence that could not be ignored and would cause people to change their expressions. And Qin Feiyang's magnificent feat this time also let many people see hope. The dragons were not invincible. As for the people who secretly spread the news, it was naturally Jiang Dafei, Fan Yunzhang, and the others. The higher the prestige of the young master, the more they felt proud. After all, they were all Qin Feiyang's followers. They were bound together for good or ill. Damn it! How did this leak out? Do you still need to think? It must be Qin Batian's arrangement. This time, the dragons suffered a huge loss. Qin Batian will definitely not let go of this opportunity to build momentum for Qin Feiyang and incite the creatures of the divine land. After this incident, I'm afraid that the prestige of our dragon clan will fall to rock bottom. Where is Lord Longzuan? Why did she disappear as soon as she returned to Divine Dragon Island? Lord Longzun might also be upset. Let her calm down. Divine Dragon Island. The 6 ancestral dragons gathered together. Their faces were full of anger, but they also felt helpless. They had never thought that one day, they would be forced to this extent by a junior. This was the biggest stain on the dragon's reputation since they ruled the ancient world for countless years. Early in the morning. In the forest. Qin Feiyang was still lying on the ground, unconscious. Tap, tap. Suddenly. A series of footsteps sounded. In a dense forest not far away, a woman who looked to be in her 20s was walking alone, looking around as if she was looking for something. The woman was about 1.8 meters tall, wearing a snow-white dress. But at this moment, the dress was a bit tattered, stained with a lot of blood and dirt. Suddenly. The woman seemed to have sensed something. Suspiciously, she walked towards Qin Feiyang. Soon. She saw Qin Feiyang. Furthermore, he discovered that there were several ferocious beasts lurking nearby, eyeing the unconscious man covetously. Such a serious injury. The woman walked forward vigilantly, looking at Qin Feiyang, a trace of surprise flashed in her eyes. And this evil aura was too terrifying. He shouldn't be a good person. But saving a life is better than building a 7-floor pagoda. It can be considered as accumulating blessings for great-grandfather. The woman in white muttered to herself. When she said the words great-grandfather, her eyebrows were full of sadness. Immediately. The woman in white took out a divine life pill from the interspatial ring and stuffed it into Qin Feiyang's mouth. A majestic energy suddenly rolled out in Qin Feiyang's body. The woman in white glanced at Qin Feiyang, set up a divine force boundary around Qin Feiyang, and then turned to leave. He seems a bit familiar. The woman suddenly stopped and turned to look at Qin Feiyang's face. But it seemed that there was something bothering her. She didn't want to think too much about it. She just glanced at him and then disappeared into the forest ahead. "Great-grandfather, what can I do to help you?" the woman in white murmured. The sadness between her eyebrows was even stronger. Even her spirit seemed to be in a trance. After she left, the divine force boundary also disappeared. In the blink of an eye. It was dawn. Qin Feiyang, lying on the ground, finally opened his eyes slowly. A night of rest. The injuries on his body were basically healed. What happened? But at this moment, he was a little confused. Slowly getting up, he raised his head and looked around. But immediately after, he recalled something, and a wry smile appeared on his face. He was too careless. He should have waited until he entered the castle or took the divine life pill before closing the battle character secret art. Fortunately, after this massacre, the murderous aura condensed in his body. Otherwise, he would definitely die under the fangs of the beasts. Looking at the sky, it should be the second day now. He stood up and stretched his muscles. Wait. If it was really the second day, then wouldn't Fire Lotus and the others, suddenly? His face changed, and he hurriedly took out the image crystal. Buzz. A shadow quickly appeared. It was Fire Lotus. Seeing that Fire Lotus was safe and sound, Qin Feiyang finally breathed a sigh of relief. "Qin Dage, where are you? Why haven't you responded to my messages all day long?" Fire Lotus was also overjoyed. "What are you doing, you bastard? Don't you know that we will be worried?" Hui Yi also ran to Fire Lotus's side, staring at Qin Feiyang and said angrily. Five-clawed golden dragon, Frenzy, Feng Da-ji, Li Changhe, and Wang Daoyuan all looked at Qin Feiyang with dissatisfaction. But looking at everyone's expression, Qin Feiyang felt a warm current in his heart. He smiled and said, "Sorry, there was an accident." Hui Yi asked, "Then where are you now?" Qin Feiyang glanced around and shook his head. "I don't know, are you guys at Black Tortoise Mountain now?" N. Hui Yi nodded. "Alright, I'll go find you guys." After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he closed the image crystal and then took out an altar, preparing to open it. But suddenly, he seemed to have felt something. He released his divine sense. Ha! Why is there a barrier hidden in the void? Chapter 25:17. Qin Feiyang stretched out his hand and touched it. A barrier immediately emerged. What's the situation? Qin Feiyang looked at the barrier in astonishment. While he was in a coma, someone else came. He quickly checked the Qianquan bag. The Qianquan bag was still there, and the things inside were not missing. In other words, he met a kind-hearted person. Good people have good karma, this saying is really true. Qin Feiyang narcissistically stroked his chin and laughed mischievously. If this was heard by Hui Yi, he would definitely roll his eyes again. "Thank you," Qin Feiyang murmured. Although he didn't know who it was, he couldn't forget this kindness. If he had the chance to meet again in the future, he must repay it well. Qin Feiyang raised his hand and slapped the barrier. However, the barrier didn't break. Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback. This person's cultivation wasn't weak. At the same time, somewhere deep in the mountains, the woman in white was still walking alone, looking more haggard than last night. Just as Qin Feiyang was about to strike the barrier, the woman's expression froze for a moment. She muttered, "Has he awakened?" After saying that, her mind moved, and the barrier enveloping Qin Feiyang automatically collapsed. "Great-grandfather," the woman murmured and continued to walk forward. Her eyes swept around, not knowing what she was looking for. In the jungle. After the barrier dissipated, Qin Feiyang immediately rose into the air and stood in the air, scanning the surroundings. But except for the beasts, he didn't see a single shadow. Doing good deeds without leaving a name, it seems that there are still good people in this world. Qin Feiyang smiled, opened the altar, and rushed to Black Tortoise Mountain. Swish! When Qin Feiyang appeared in the sky above the valley, Fire Lotus's group immediately surrounded him. "Are you okay?" Fire Lotus asked. "I'm fine." Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. Hui Yi asked, "Where did you go?" Qin Feiyang looked a little embarrassed as he briefly explained the situation. "I really have to give it to you. Since you know that you're seriously injured, why don't you send us a message first to tell us that you're safe? Fortunately, there were kind-hearted people who helped you. Otherwise, we wouldn't even have a place to collect your corpse." Hui Yi said angrily. Yes. I was careless this time. I'm sorry, everyone. I won't do it again." Qin Feiyang forced a smile. "It's good that you're okay." Fire Lotus smiled and asked, "Who is that kind-hearted person?" "I don't know. But I remember the aura of that barrier. When I meet him, I should be able to tell." Qin Feiyang said. "Yes." Fire Lotus nodded and said, "Then tell me, what happened to you in the inner sea?" Qin Feiyang told him all the details without holding anything back. "I see. I told you, we can't let you go to the inner sea alone." Fire Lotus said. "We underestimated the dragons before." Qin Feiyang sighed and turned to look at Feng Daji and the five-clawed golden dragon. "Do you know about the sovereign divine domain and sovereign divine weapon?" "We don't know. This is the first time we've heard of it. We've never seen the sovereign dragon open his sovereign divine domain before. Maybe our level isn't high enough." Feng Daji and the five-clawed golden dragon shook their heads. Qin Feiyang nodded, looked at them and asked, "What's the situation outside now? We've been worried about you. How can we be in the mood to care about this?" Hui Yi snorted. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly and took out the image crystal. Buzz. After a while, Jiang Dafei's figure appeared. "Young lord." Jiang Dafei saw Qin Feiyang and was stunned at first, then said excitedly, "It's great that you're okay. I made you worry." Qin Feiyang smiled and asked, "What's the situation outside now?" "Of course it's a sensation. Everyone in the entire divine land is probably talking about you now." Jiang Dafei said. "This matter has already been spread?" Qin Feiyang frowned. "Yes. This is an order from the higher-ups of the Dragon Slayer Palace. The purpose is to create momentum for you and suppress the dragons." Jiang Dafei nodded. "Create momentum? Is it an order from the ancestors?" Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. "It should be. Judging from young lord's attitude, don't you agree?" Jiang Dafei was suspicious. "The tallest tree in the forest will be destroyed by the wind. Creating momentum may not be a good thing for me." Qin Feiyang sighed. "This isn't a big problem. After all, the dragons have always regarded you as a thorn in their side." Jiang Dafei said. "It's not just the dragons." Qin Feiyang shook his head. "Then who else?" Jiang Dafei was a little confused. "Didn't you and Fan Yunzhang say that the Dragon Slayer Palace is not united? Besides me, there are 3 young lords. In such a cruel competition, what do you think their attitudes will be when they know that the 10 heaven-defying divine artifacts of the dragons are now in my hands?" Qin Feiyang said. Jiang Dafei hesitated and shook his head. "I really haven't thought about this. They will definitely be jealous. Besides, I have so many crystal veins, spirit veins, and medicinal herbs. The divine land may harm me behind my back. After all, I am the descendant of the ancestors. The stronger my foundation and strength are, the more advantageous it is for the ancestors. Qin Feiyang said. It seems to make sense. For a long time, the four emperors of the Dragon Slayer Palace have been on par in terms of cultivation and subordinates. And your appearance has undoubtedly broken this balance. Jiang Dafei nodded. Since things have come to this, we can only let nature take its course. Now I just hope that they can be honest and don't do anything bad to me. Otherwise, even if they are from the Dragon Slayer Palace, I won't let them have an easy time. Qin Feiyang said lightly, but a trace of killing intent flashed in his eyes. Jiang Dafei smiled slightly. If Qin Feiyang said these words in the past, he would definitely doubt it. But now, he believed it without a doubt. Because this young lord did have the ability to do so. Qin Feiyang said, okay then, you should take the opportunity to take the position of the city lord. Yes. Jiang Dafei responded respectfully, and the shadow quickly dissipated. Young master, we don't have to help them anymore, right? Li Changhe and Fan Yunzhang looked at Qin Feiyang and asked. Of course not. If they can't take the position of the city lord now, then they are a bunch of good-for-nothings. I don't need such people around me. Qin Feiyang put away the image crystal and said. The two looked at each other and smiled. After the ancient castle's time array changed, they really didn't want to waste time outside. Let's go. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and led everyone into the Black Tortoise realm. Young master, if there's nothing else, I'll go and reconstruct my body first. Feng Daji looked at Qin Feiyang and said. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded. After Feng Daji left, Qin Feiyang looked at Fire Lotus and the others and said with a smile, take out your spoils of war. Frenzy, Fire Lotus, Hua Yi, and the five-clawed golden dragon waved their hands at the same time, and a field of medicinal herbs immediately appeared in the sky. Crystal veins, spirit veins, and countless medicinal herbs. But in comparison, there were fewer and the quality was worse than the last time. After all, the city lord mansions that were looted this time were all relatively low-level cities. But even so, it was shocking enough. The medicinal herbs, crystal veins, and spirit veins of the entire north are now in our Black Tortoise realm. In other words, the Black Tortoise realm is now comparable to the north of the Divine Land. Fire Lotus said with a smile. That's not right. Qin Feiyang said. What's not right? Fire Lotus was stunned and looked at him suspiciously. We only looted the city lord mansions. And in the Divine Land, even a small mountain village has spirit veins and crystal veins. Those noble families must have a lot of them too. So, really, we only looted half of the resources in the north. Qin Feiyang said. That's true. Fire Lotus nodded and suggested, then why don't we loot again? What are you thinking about? You're addicted. Be content. If we loot again, the creatures in the north won't be able to cultivate. Qin Feiyang shook his head. There were countless creatures in the north, and they needed a lot of resources to cultivate every day. If they looted all of them, it would be equivalent to cutting off their cultivation path. At that time, it would really arouse the anger of the people. Just like now, if they looted the city lord mansions, the creatures in the north would be implicated. Because now, half of the resources were gone. Fire Lotus smiled embarrassedly. It was a little addictive. Nothing was faster than looting resources. Li Changhe asked, then how should we deal with these resources now? Half of them will be sent to the various forbidden areas, and the other half will be given to the creatures in the Black Tortoise realm. They helped me so much, so I must repay them. Fire Lotus, I'll leave this matter to you. Li Changhe, Wang Daoyuan, you two assist Fire Lotus. Qin Feiyang thought for a while and said. Yes. Li Changhe and Wang Daoyuan replied respectfully. Qin Feiyang turned to look at Madman and said with a smile, Senior brother, shall we return to the Dragon God Palace? Whatever. Madman shrugged. Qin Feiyang smiled and left the Black Tortoise realm with Madman. The three Black Panther brothers, Big Black Wolf, come out and help. Fire Lotus looked at the ancient castle and shouted. In the sky above a city. Li Changhe arrived in the sky with 50 divine-level spirit veins, 50 divine-level crystal veins, and countless herbs. His aura rolled out. Who is it? Accompanied by a cold shout, two figures flew into the sky. It was Pai Lupi and Theta Wang. The people in the city also looked at Li Changhe in surprise. This is a gift from the young master. Li Changhe said indifferently. Pai Lupi and Theta Wang raised their heads and looked at the spirit veins, crystal veins, and herbs. Their faces were full of shock. Who is your young master? What are those things? Someone in the city asked. Pai Lupi and Theta Wang were naturally not unfamiliar with the spirit veins and crystal veins, but it was the first time they saw the creatures of the Black Tortoise realm. These are the spirit veins and crystal veins. You can ask Pai Lupi and Theta Wang about their specific use. As for my young master, he is the ruler of the Black Tortoise realm. Li Changhe said. So it's Qin Feiyang. Everyone nodded in understanding. Li Changhe looked at Pai Lupi and Theta Wang and said, these resources are for you to take care of, but remember, this is not for you, but for everyone. Understood. Thank you, Lord Ruler. Pai Lupi and Theta Wang quickly bowed. At the same time, Wang Daoyuan also arrived in the sky above a mountain range. A burly man appeared. There were also dozens of spirit veins and crystal veins, as well as countless herbs. You are. The burly man looked at Wang Daoyuan in surprise. The young master said earlier that he would give you a great fortune after this, and this is the fortune that the young master has given you. Thank you for helping the young master get through the crisis. As for my young master's name, Qin Feiyang. After Wang Daoyuan finished speaking, he left without looking back. Thank you, Lord Ruler. The burly man hurriedly knelt in the void and shouted. Chapter 25:18. At the same time, the three Black Leopard brothers and the Big Black Wolf also went to various places to deliver crystal veins, spirit veins, and herbs. At first, whether it was humans or beasts, none of them knew what crystal veins and spirit veins were. But later, when Pai Lupi and Theta Wang explained the use of crystal veins and spirit veins, it immediately caused an unprecedented sensation in the Black Tortoise world. There was actually such a divine object in the world. This is Qin Feiyang's repayment. What a precious gift. Thank you. Almost every living being was grateful to Qin Feiyang in their hearts. After these spirit veins and crystal veins were settled, in less than 2 days, there were obvious changes in the Black Tortoise world. The density of essence energy was dozens of times stronger than before, or even hundreds of times stronger. Whether it was the major cities or the remote mountain villages, there was a mist of essence energy. Whether it was humans or beasts, they could clearly feel that their cultivation speed was faster than before. The success of 1 day of cultivation now was comparable to dozens of days of cultivation in the past. This was indeed a great fortune. A few days later, Pai Lupi and Theta Wang stood on the peak of a mountain, overlooking the land around them. In just a few days, the Black Tortoise world seemed to have become another world. Old Wang, the ruler, has done so much for the Black Tortoise world. Shouldn't we do something for him? Pai Lupi asked with a smile. He's so strong and doesn't lack anything. What can we do? Theta Wang was slightly taken aback and looked suspiciously at Pai Lupi. Pai Lupi pondered for a while and nodded. That's true. No matter what we do, it's insignificant to him. But we can't just do nothing. What do you have in mind? Theta Wang asked. The Black Tortoise world is still unfamiliar with the ruler. He doesn't have much prestige. How about this? Let's create a statue of the ruler so that everyone will always remember the ruler's kindness to us. Over time, the people of the Black Tortoise world will slowly come to believe in the Lord Ruler. Pai Lupi suggested. That's fine. As long as the statue of the sovereign exists, the people of the world will never forget him. He is the faith of our Black Tortoise world. Theta Wong nodded. And then there was Qin Fei Yang. Following Madman, he successfully returned to the Dragon God Temple. The Dragon God Palace was also spreading the news of the battle in the Inland Sea, as well as the looting of the various city lords' manors. How can this Qin Fei Yang be so heaven-defying? Even the Dragon Sovereign and the various ancestral dragons couldn't stop him. They even let him steal the heaven-defying divine artifact. Unbelievable. Speaking of which, where is he hiding? Why is he always elusive? Similar discussions rose and fell one after another, and it didn't stop ringing in the ears. When Qin Fei Yang and the mad scientist returned to the cave, they couldn't help but be stunned. At this moment, there were no less than hundreds of people gathered outside the cave. These people were basically all paragon gods. There were even quite a few ninth heaven realm cultivators among them. What are you all gathered here for? The mad scientist suddenly shouted. The hundreds of people were also discussing the internal sea. When they heard the mad scientist shout, they immediately stopped talking and turned to look at the mad scientist. When they saw Qin Fei Yang next to the mad scientist, their eyes flashed with a cold light. Did they come with ill intentions? Qin Fei Yang was stunned. However, he didn't seem to have done anything that angered the gods and humans. Li Bu, her. Today, we are here to crusade against you. A black-clothed young man shouted sternly. Crusade against me? Qin Fei Yang looked at the mad scientist and asked suspiciously, why are they here to crusade against me? How would I know? The mad scientist rolled his eyes and looked at the hundreds of people. I don't have time to waste with you, Scram. Who do you think you are? You dare to be arrogant in front of us? Do you think you are Qin Fei Yang? The crowd shouted angrily. Qin Fei Yang, the mad scientist's eyes flashed with a hint of ridicule. He was indeed not Qin Fei Yang, but Qin Fei Yang's original body was standing next to him. Is Qin Fei Yang very powerful? The mad scientist asked curiously. What? You don't even know Qin Fei Yang? Aya, where did you come from, country bumpkin? Don't you have any knowledge? Let me tell you, this Qin Fei Yang defeated the Dragon Sovereign and the 6 ancestral dragons by himself. Not only that, he also stole the 10 heaven-defying divine artifacts of the dragons. And during this period of time, he brought a group of subordinates and ransacked all the city lord mansions in the northern cities. You don't know such a powerful person. I really feel sorry for you. Everyone mocked and ridiculed. He's that powerful. The mad scientist looked surprised and said playfully, according to what you said, isn't this Qin Fei Yang the mortal enemy of the dragons? As a member of the Dragon God Temple, you worship Qin Fei Yang so much, aren't you afraid that the dragons will find trouble with you? Hearing this, everyone present couldn't help but have a change of expression. This place instantly fell into dead silence. This daddy doesn't know any Qin Fei Yang, but this daddy is loyal to the dragons. If this Qin Fei Yang dares to come out, this daddy will destroy him in minutes. The mad scientist coldly snorted. Senior brother, I am right next to you, can you give me some face? Qin Fei Yang transmitted his voice, extremely speechless. What do you know? That 10th elder is secretly watching. This daddy is expressing my loyalty to him. The mad scientist secretly said. What? The 10th elder is secretly watching. Qin Fei Yang was surprised. He's standing on a mountain peak not far away. The mad scientist transmitted his voice. Qin Fei Yang's eyes flashed slightly as he looked at the hundreds of people and said in a deep voice, although I have done a lot of disrespectful things to the dragons in the Dragon God Temple in the past few years, my heart has always been with the dragons. You people better not mention any Qin Feiyang in front of me, otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Since it was an act, then he might as well put on an act. Maybe after hearing these words, the dragon's attitude towards him would change. This way, it would naturally save a lot of trouble. Towards the dragons. The hundreds of people were very surprised when they heard this. They never thought that this person who constantly looked down on the dragons was actually on the same side as the dragons. In the past, when I killed the island master, it was only against him, not against the dragons as a whole. Because my temper is like this. As long as they dare to provoke me, no matter who the other party is, I will kill them without hesitation. So, this does not affect my loyalty to the dragons. Qin Feiyang said indifferently. You can act better than me. The mad scientist secretly despised him. The hundreds of people looked at Qin Feiyang in a daze, as if they had discovered a new continent. Say it, why did you come to crusade against me? If you can't tell me the reason, I'm afraid you will all be buried here today. Qin Feiyang glanced at the group of people, his eyes flashing with a cold light. The pupils of the group of people shrank. Don't be impulsive. We're here to reason with you, not to start a fight. Someone said. Say it. Qin Feiyang shouted impatiently. What are you being arrogant for? Isn't it just that there is an omnipotent backing him? If there is no omnipotent, a lot of people in the Dragon God Temple can kill him. In the crowd, there was a short young man with a sly face, who said to an ordinary-looking black-clothed man next to him. The black-clothed man was silent. He crossed his arms and looked at Qin Feiyang. It's like this. Some time ago, you obtained a large number of legendary-level divine weapons and divine arts from the Divine Weapon Pavilion and the Divine Art Treasury. Now, the Divine Weapon Pavilion and Divine Art Treasury of the major islands have removed the supreme level and legendary level divine arts and artifacts. So now, the highest level divine weapons and artifacts in the Divine Weapon Pavilion and Divine Art Treasury are pinnacle level divine weapons and artifacts. You have to give us an explanation for this matter. Don't think that just because you have an omnipotent protecting you, you can look down on us. I'm not afraid to tell you that the people of the Dragon God Temple are very dissatisfied with you. If you dare to make a move against us, then you will be an enemy of everyone in the Dragon God Temple. The people roared angrily. Just because of this? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Someone said angrily, don't you think this matter is big enough? Qin Feiyang was speechless. This was an order from the white-clothed woman, how could it be counted as his fault? He really had nothing better to do. He said, then what kind of explanation do you think I need to give you? It's very simple. We need a promise from you. Promise that you will never go to the Divine Weapon Pavilion and the Divine Art Treasury again. Because only then will Lord Ancestral Dragon order to put the supreme level and legendary level divine weapons and divine arts back to the Divine Weapon Pavilion and the Divine Art Treasury. People said. Why? I got this with my own luck. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. Someone said angrily, do you really want to be an enemy of everyone in the Dragon God Temple? Be an enemy of everyone? You think too highly of yourselves. Just you. You don't even have the qualifications to be my enemy. Qin Feiyang had a look of disdain. Arrogant. Suddenly, a cold shout was heard. The man in black took a step forward and stared at Qin Feiyang. He said, if you're so capable, don't let that supreme expert fight. I'll fight you one-on-one. Qin Feiyang looked at the man in black suspiciously. The cultivation of a perfected god, how dare he challenge him one-on-one? Could it be that this person had just come out of seclusion and didn't know what he was capable of? Senior brother Gu Fan, did you see that? He's so arrogant. He thinks that he's invincible and that no one can stop him. A group of people surrounded the man in black and said angrily. Gu Fan. Qin Feiyang stared blankly. This name seemed somewhat familiar. Do you dare? Gu Fan looked at Qin Feiyang provocatively. Li Bu, her. 1,000 years ago, senior brother Gu Fan entered the divine art treasury for the first time just like you and obtained a supreme-level divine art. Then, the island master personally sent senior brother Gu Fan to the second island to cultivate. In just 1,000 years, senior brother Gu Fan has already broken through to perfected God. So, you're not the only lucky person in this world. The few people around Gu Fan looked at Qin Feiyang and sneered. So, it's you. No wonder you dare to challenge me one-on-one. Those who have a supreme-level divine art are indeed confident. Qin Feiyang looked at Gu Fan and smiled. Yi Cheng had already mentioned this person back then, but he didn't pay much attention to it. Don't act like you're great. Without that supreme expert, what are you? Gu Fan said with disdain. Chapter 25:19. You're getting addicted. Qin Feiyang was startled. Gu Fan. His name was not bad and he looked ordinary. However, his flamboyant personality made people uncomfortable. Hey, hey, hey. Are you deaf? Didn't you hear senior brother Gu Fan challenge you? Can you be more polite? You should at least answer whether you accept or not. The few people beside Gu Fan also became increasingly unrestrained as they clamored. How annoying. Madman stepped forward and unleashed his aura. He pointed at them and Gu Fan and said, all of you, come at me together. What? Together? Gu Fan and the others looked at Madman in shock. How dare a lesser success paragon god be so arrogant? I don't have time to talk nonsense with you. Hurry up. If you can't even beat me, you don't have the right to challenge Li Buer. Madman said domineeringly. Who do you think you are? Senior brother Gu Fan doesn't even need to do anything to kill you. I can crush you. One of the greater success paragon gods yelled furiously. He flew into the sky and said, come and die. Qin Feiyang turned to Madman and said with a frown, Senior brother Madman, I've been with so many people, but no one has ever dared to be so arrogant in front of me. Don't worry about it. Madman waved his hand and flew into the sky like a ray of light. How dare a lesser success paragon god be so arrogant? Watch how I crush you. The greater success paragon god raised his arm and grabbed at Madman's head like an eagle's claw. I admire your courage. Madman smiled coldly and threw a punch. Boom! Following a loud explosion, the greater success paragon god's arm shattered and blood splattered everywhere. How is this possible? The hundreds of people below were dumbfounded. What kind of strange strength was that? One had to know. His opponent was a minor level higher than him. Ridiculous. Only Qin Feiyang shook his head. He was well aware of Madman's strength. If he didn't use the kill art, even he wasn't confident that he could defeat Madman. Besides, the Madman's physical body and strength were also extraordinary. Even a consummate paragon would only be able to take a beating, let alone a great success paragon. With just this little bit of strength, you dare to be arrogant with me? The Madman looked at the paragon god, then took a step forward and reached out with his hand like an eagle's claw toward the man's head. A look of disbelief appeared on the face of the paragon god. His cultivation was clearly higher than the other parties by a small realm, but his strength was actually inferior to the other party. Be careful. Gu Fan shouted. That person suddenly came back to his senses and immediately retreated. In the meantime, with a chirp, a huge fire wand rushed out. This was an evolution of the deity art. Impressive divine might. You dare to show off a mere perfect deity technique? Madman's face was full of disdain. Boom. A tremendous aura burst out from his body. Following closely, a blood-red light appeared. That bloody light was like a demon from the abyss of hell, and it emitted a terrifying fiendish aura. Clang! The next moment, a blood-red square seal appeared. Bloodseeker's first style, Bloodseeker Seal. Qin Feiyang had experienced this move before. It was a legendary level deity art. Boom! The Bloodseeker Seal's blood-red light surged as it crushed forward. The fire one instantly let out a wail and dissipated in the void. Pfft! The Paragon God immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. Looking at the madman and the Bloodseeker Seal, his face was full of shock. In a daze. It was as if he had seen the birth of a demon god. The madman didn't stop from beginning to end. He rushed in front of that person and grabbed his head with his eagle-like hand. Crush me to death. Do you have the ability? Watch how I crush you to death. The madman smiled sinisterly and exerted force with his 5 fingers. Ah! Immediately, the Paragon God screamed in horror as his mind exploded like a watermelon. His divine soul wanted to escape. But the madman caught it in his hand. How terrifying! This is an instant kill. When did he enter the Dragon God Palace? Why haven't I seen him before? Not only the hundreds of people surrounding the valley, but everyone on the first island also fell into deep fear at this moment. They never thought that the first island was hiding such a terrifying person. Don't kill me. I beg you. Senior brother Gu Fan, save me. The Paragon God's divine soul screamed in horror. Gu Fan took a deep breath and looked up at the madman. He said in a commanding tone, "Let him go at once." Who was the madman? Everyone who knew him knew that he was a truly lawless person. He had always been the one to order others around. No one dared to order him around. As soon as Gu Fan finished speaking, the madman clenched his fist. The divine soul in his hand immediately let out a wail and shattered on the spot. Impressive. How dare you? He is the second person besides Li Bu, who dares to kill in public in the Dragon God Palace. No, it's the third one. The first one is that young man. The second one is Li Bu, The third one is him. Everyone's pupils contracted. It was a serious crime to kill in public in the Dragon God Palace. However, these 3 people did not care about the rules of the Dragon God Palace at all. As the saying goes, birds of a feather flock together. They're all lawless fellows. Gu Fan. Currently, his face was as dark as water. As soon as he finished speaking, the madman crushed that person's soul. It was clear that he was provoking him. The madman looked down at Gu Fan and said disdainfully, "Come up here and let me see what you got." Bang! Gu Fan's aura exploded. He placed his hands behind his back and walked up to the sky like a deity. Don't say it. Qin Feiyang was rather impressed by his arrogance and his attitude of looking around at the crowd of heroes. Because this kind of pretentious aura was enough to kill everyone present. Let's have a battle, regardless of life or death. Do you dare to accept? Gu Fan looked down at the madman. I've already killed your friend, and you're asking me if I dare to accept. Are you an idiot? The madman said with a mocking expression. Your courage is commendable. However, you'll soon know that there's always someone better than you. Even if I have a legendary divine technique, I don't have the right to be arrogant. Gu Fan said proudly. You're indeed invincible in terms of pretentiousness. The madman rolled his eyes. Not only was Gu Fan not angry, his eyes were filled with mockery. Bang! Suddenly, a wave of divine power surged out. Roar! Immediately, a black dragon roared as it rushed out. Look! That's senior brother Gu Fan's supreme divine technique. Black Dragon Secret Manual. He's already using the supreme divine technique. Obviously, he doesn't want to give his opponent any chance. The hundreds of people were excited. In front of a supreme divine technique, a legendary divine technique was like a child. Moreover, senior brother Gu Fan's cultivation was 3 levels higher than his opponent's. This person would definitely die. That was what Gu Fan thought too. Whether it was divine technique or cultivation, he could crush his opponent. Was there any suspense in this battle? There was no suspense at all. However, looking at the supreme divine artifact, the madman didn't show any signs of nervousness. His bloodshot eyes were filled with disdain. When you reincarnate in your next life, remember who you can offend and who you can't. Gu Fan smiled coldly. Roar! The black dragon roared in the sky and pounced toward the madman. I'll return those words to you without missing a single word. The madman said coldly. A monstrous blood-red light suddenly roared out from his body. A blood-red barrier tens of thousands of feet wide appeared. The fourth move, domain of the blood demon. The barrier suddenly fell. Gu Fan's cultivation immediately began to plummet. Perfect Paragon. Great Success Paragon. Lesser Success Paragon. Lesser Success Paragon. That's right. In just an instant, Gu Fan's cultivation dropped by 4 minor levels. How is this possible? Gu Fan turned pale with fright. As his cultivation plummeted, the black dragon's power also plummeted by several levels. What did he do? Why did senior brother Gu Fan's cultivation drop to Lesser Success Paragon? This isn't an ordinary barrier. It must be a deity technique. The people below were also shocked. They didn't expect the other party to have such a terrifying deity technique. Clang! The blood demon seal appeared again, carrying a monstrous murderous aura as it crashed toward the black dragon. Accompanied by a loud explosion, the two instantly exploded in the void. The blood-red light dyed half the sky. Pooh! Gu Fan immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. He looked up at the madman in shock. However, the madman only shook a few times. Because his physical body was stronger, he could withstand this force. This is a paragon deity technique? I thought it was something amazing. The madman shook his head, showing his disdain to the fullest. Why is this happening? Gu Fan murmured. Even after activating a paragon deity technique, he still couldn't defeat the other party. Being crushed by the other party in front of so many people was no longer a simple defeat. It was humiliating. Today, you must die. Gu Fan suddenly roared, and the black dragon appeared again. However, this time, there was more than one. There were a total of 99 of them. Each of them was as large as a mountain, emitting an aura that could destroy the world. Destroy both your soul and body. Gu Fan roared. The 99 black dragons crazily pounced toward the madman. The void shattered. The sky trembled. Even the first island below was violently trembling. The aura was extremely shocking. Not bad. The madman nodded with a hint of praise in his eyes. However, in Gu Fan's eyes, this compliment was a blatant humiliation to him. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. However, that's all you have. Immediately after, the madman shook his head and smiled. Boom! A blood-red divine power shot up into the sky. In the next moment, a figure shrouded in a bloody mist appeared in the sky. That figure was tens of thousands of feet tall. He stepped on the void and had the sky above his head. On his head, there was a blood-red crown. He also wore a blood-red armor. His murderous aura spread out in all directions. Looking from afar, it was as if a terrifying demon king had appeared. The second style, Blood Demon Roar. The blood demon roared into the sky, and a blood-red wave immediately surged out, covering the sky as it surged toward the 99 black dragons. Crack. Rumble. The blood-red wave was formed by the sound waves. It was pervasive, wave after wave, one after another. The 99 black dragons kept collapsing, and Gu Fan kept spitting out blood from his mouth. It can't be. I don't believe it. Gu Fan shook his head, and his face was filled with disbelief. This still couldn't turn the situation around and defeat the other party. Chapter 25-20. A mere firefly wants to compete with me? A person should know their limits. The madman smiled coldly. Blood-colored divine power appeared again. Third move, bloodthirsty demon king. Boom. A divine statue appeared in the world. The statue seemed to be made of blood. It had a blood-colored sword and a blood-colored halberd in its hand. The terrifying baleful aura could topple mountains and overturn seas, causing countless people to feel despair in their hearts. You were just lucky enough to obtain a sovereign-level deity incantation, that's all. In terms of talent, there are plenty of people in the Dragon God Palace who are stronger than you. Why are you still being arrogant in front of me? The madman's face was filled with disdain. Clang. As he said this, the halberd created a wave of blood that tore through the sky and shattered the black dragons as it slashed toward Gu Fan. Stop. At this moment, several yells sounded. Four middle-aged men jumped up from the crowd and charged toward the madman. These four were all at the half-step ninth heaven realm. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. However, as if he thought of something, his eyebrows relaxed. He didn't attack and just looked at the four with disdain. There are so many people who aren't afraid of death. The madman glanced at the four. The statue didn't stop at all and the halberd landed on Gu Fan's head. Arg! With a miserable shriek, Gu Fan's body was crushed on the spot. His divine soul was also instantly destroyed. Blood and flesh flew everywhere. He killed Gu Fan just like that. He has a sovereign-level divine spell. How can he be so weak? Everyone looked at this scene in shock. The four half-step ninth heaven realm cultivators couldn't help but feel their scalps go numb. Too terrifying. He was so strong that it didn't make any sense. The four couldn't help but stop. Even though their cultivation was much higher than the madman's, they couldn't help but feel fear. Since you're here, don't go back. The madman looked down at the four and then waved his hand. The bloodthirsty demon king and blood demon domain disappeared. This was because this legendary divine weapon was useless against a half-step ninth heaven realm cultivator. Arrogant. I want to see what you can do to kill us. The four of them were also enraged. Divine power surged out and they continued to attack the madman. Even a legendary artifact would not be able to break through the barrier of a major realm. Cultivation determined everything. Then you guys better watch closely, don't blink. The madman laughed maniacally. Like a rainbow, he charged towards the four of them. Die. When the four of them saw this, they were all burning with anger. In the blink of an eye, the two sides met in the sky. The madman raised his arm and pointed with his index finger. Four golden lights suddenly appeared. Rumble. The four rays of golden light collided with the divine power of the four people. A shocking scene appeared. The four rays of golden light actually shattered the divine power of the four people as easily as crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. Following that, they entered the space between the four people's eyebrows. Crack. Ah. Accompanied by four blood-curdling screams, the four men's heads were crushed on the spot, and their spirits were annihilated. What's going on? He's just a lesser stage paragon god. How could he kill four half-step nine heavens realm cultivators? What is that golden light? Everyone looked at the four corpses that fell from the sky in shock. Their faces and eyes were filled with disbelief. Qin Feiyang had a trace of a smile on his face. When he had sparred with the madman, the latter had used this golden light. This golden light was even comparable to the blood-colored light formed by the kill art. At that time, he had already suspected that this golden light was formed by a heaven-defying art. Now that he saw the madman kill the 4 people, he was finally certain that this was a heaven-defying art. No wonder the Grand Elder of 9 Heavens Palace liked him so much. The other big shots also indulged him in the same way. Even Hua Yi had great expectations for the madman. It turned out that he had such a terrifying art. Whether it was the madman's comprehension or other aspects, he was comparable to a monster. Because the Blood Demon 4 Styles was created by the madman himself, and he had even raised it to the legendary level. Moreover, the madman had once said that he had created a 5th style. This Blood Demon 5 style must be even more terrifying. Ignorant thing. The madman shook his head in disdain. He waved his hand and the 4 golden lights dissipated. He then looked down at the hundreds of people below. Sorry for disturbing you. We'll leave now. Goodbye. The hundreds of people immediately scattered and fled in panic. Back then, Li Bu Er had killed Wang Darren and the other 2. Now, the madman had killed 4 half-step 9 Heavens Realm experts. What kind of people were they? They were simply abnormal. The madman smiled in disdain and landed beside Qin Feiyang. Go cultivate. For him, this kind of small scene was not even enough to warm up. Qin Feiyang said, Senior brother madman, can you tell me what kind of heaven-defying art you have? Guess. The madman grinned. Qin Feiyang was speechless. Does the Blood Demon 5 style really exist? Isn't that nonsense? Would I lie to you about this kind of thing? The madman rolled his eyes. Qin Feiyang smiled. To be honest, he really wanted to have another spar with the madman. However, to spar with this guy, he would definitely have to use his full strength. And in the Dragon God Palace, he didn't dare to do so. So he could only suppress this impulse. The 2 turned around and returned to the cave. Wait. But at this moment, a gloomy voice sounded behind them. Qin Feiyang and madman turned around. Who else could it be but the 10th Elder of the Dragons? Lin Hua was also beside the 10th Elder. Qin Feiyang sent a sound transmission. It seems that your previous actions have caused him to be dissatisfied. The madman pursed his lips. The 2 turned to face the 10th Elder and cupped their hands. Greetings, 10th Elder. The 10th Elder looked at the 2 and said, Not bad, killing people in the Dragon God Palace again. 10th Elder, this has nothing to do with me. He was the one who did it. Qin Feiyang pointed at the madman next to him. No sense of loyalty. The madman secretly glared at him and frowned at the 10th Elder. They were the ones who came to cause trouble first, and we can't fight back. It's not that we can't fight back, but since we have already won, why should we kill them? They are all people of the Dragon God Palace, let them off when possible. The 10th Elder said. Qin Feiyang and madman looked at each other. The attitude of this 10th Elder seemed to be different from before. It seemed that the previous declaration of loyalty was really useful. Qin Feiyang laughed, Elder is right, we will pay attention next time. There will be a next time. The 10th Elder raised his eyebrows. You also know that our Dragon God Palace is a place of trouble, it's hard to guarantee that there won't be a next time. Qin Feiyang was helpless. The 10th Elder looked at Qin Feiyang and then at the madman, his eyes flashing with an inexplicable light, and said, Lin Hua, give me 2 facial restoration pills. Facial restoration pills. Qin Feiyang and the madman's heart skipped a beat. What does this mean? Lin Hua also looked at the 10th Elder suspiciously. Quick. The 10th Elder glanced at Lin Hua. Lin Hua hurriedly took out 2 facial restoration pills from his yin and yang ring and respectfully handed them to the 10th Elder. But the 10th elder didn't take it. He looked at Qin Fei Yang and the madman and said, "One for each of you, take it." Qin Fei Yang, what's going on? Is he already suspecting your identity? The madman was surprised. How would I know? Qin Fei Yang thought. He didn't expect the 10th elder to suddenly do this. It really caught him off guard. What should he do? After taking the facial restoration pill, he would have to restore his true appearance. Although he now had more than a dozen heaven-defying divine artifacts, it was not enough in the face of a sovereign weapon. He could only activate the slaughter domain. And now, he had no place to find blood at all. There were quite a lot of people in the Dragon God Hall, but even if he killed them all, it would probably not be enough to open the second stage. If he restored his true appearance, it would probably be a disaster. What are you waiting for? Hurry up. The 10th elder frowned. Qin Fei Yang and the madman stretched out their arms and each grabbed a facial restoration pill. The madman didn't care. Because this was his true appearance now. But Qin Fei Yang's heart was incomparably flustered. Yes. He panicked. Because this change came too suddenly, he wasn't prepared at all. Take it. The 10th elder urged. The madman frowned and said, "Elder, wait a minute, what do you mean?" The 10th elder said, "What do I mean? I will tell you later." Later? If you don't tell me, I won't take it. The madman said. He was trying to divert attention. He wanted to divert the 10th elder's attention to him. Because the more he resisted, the more suspicious the 10th elder would be. Naturally, the 10th elder would place his focus on him and neglect Qin Fei Yang. Presumptuous. I only made you take a facial restoration pill, and you actually resisted so stubbornly. Is there really a problem with your identity? The 10th elder shouted. The madman said indifferently, "Why do you care if there is a problem with my identity? First, you have to explain it clearly. What is your identity? Do you still need me to explain it to you?" The 10th elder said angrily. What happened? But at this moment, a puzzled voice sounded, and the white-clothed woman came through the air like lightning. "Greetings to Lord Ancestral Dragon." The 10th elder and Lin Hua immediately turned to look at the white-clothed woman and bowed to welcome her. Quickly pretend to take the facial restoration pill. The madman hurriedly transmitted his voice. Qin Fei Yang was taken aback and immediately understood the madman's meaning. Holding the facial restoration pill, with a thought, the facial restoration pill in his hand immediately disappeared. I didn't do anything wrong, what am I afraid of? Immediately after. He looked at the 10th elder's back and smiled faintly, then pressed it into his mouth. In order to make it more realistic, Qin Fei Yang even swallowed it. The 10th elder looked back at Qin Fei Yang. Qin Fei Yang said calmly. The 10th elder didn't have any doubt seeing this and turned to the madman. When he found that the madman hadn't taken the pill yet, a cold light flashed in his eyes. This person must be guilty. What? At this moment, the white-clothed woman flew over and landed beside the 10th elder. She glanced at Qin Fei Yang and the madman and asked the 10th elder. The 10th elder pointed at the madman and said, "Not only did he kill Gu Fan, but he also killed 4 half-step 9th heaven realm cultivators." The white-clothed woman raised her eyebrows. Furthermore, he used a mysterious golden light to kill the 4 half-9s heavens realm cultivators. The 10th elder said. Golden light? The white-clothed woman was suspicious. The madman said angrily, "So you have been secretly watching us?" The 10th elder snickered coldly. The white-clothed woman glanced at the madman and said, "Tell me what happened in detail." Yes. The 10th elder respectfully responded and then narrated the process of the madman's battle in detail. Chapter 25-21. Killing a half-step 9th heaven realm cultivator with a lesser divine stage cultivation. When the woman in white heard this, she frowned. That's right. That doesn't make sense. Because there's a big gap between them, unless it's a heaven-defying divine art. As far as I know, only Qin Feiyang has such a divine art. And lady, you must have heard that Qin Feiyang has a divine art. When he uses it, golden light will appear. The 10th elder said. The woman in white frowned. You suspect that one of them is Qin Feiyang? Yes. When Li Bu killed Wang Darren and the other two, I was already suspicious. But just now, he took the face-restoring pill and his appearance didn't change at all, which means he's not him. But this lunatic kept denying it. There must be something wrong. The 10th elder stared at the lunatic. Sure enough. The lunatic attracted all the attention of the 10th elder. Hearing this, the woman in white pondered for a while and looked at the lunatic. To prove your understanding, take the face-restoring pill. So you suspect that I'm Qin Feiyang? You guys are ridiculous. The world is so big. Is Qin Feiyang the only one with a heaven-defying divine art? The lunatic sneered. The 10th elder shouted, cut the crap. If you don't have a guilty conscience, hurry up and take the face-restoring pill in your hand. Okay. I'll take it. But what if I'm not Qin Feiyang? The lunatic said. The 10th elder said angrily, if you're not, I'll kneel down and apologize to you. Okay. That's what you said. Lord Ancestral Dragon, did you hear that? Don't go back on your words later. The lunatic threw the face-restoring pill into his mouth. So straightforward. The 10th elder was stunned and stared at the lunatic's face. Time passed breath by breath. But the lunatic's appearance didn't change at all. No. The first elder's expression suddenly withered. The lunatic said, you are a person of virtue and prestige. You have to keep your word. Kneel down and apologize. That's impossible. The 10th elder shook his head. He stretched out his hand and pinched the madman's face. It looked like he wanted to peel off a layer of skin from the madman's face. The lunatic sneered. You're not stupid to think that I'm wearing a mask, right? The white-robed woman raised her eyebrows and looked at the 10th elder. She shouted, what a scandal. Stop it. The 10th elder's body trembled. He quickly bowed and said, I'm sorry. I lost my composure. The woman in white said, you have to do what you said. Don't embarrass our dragon clan. The 10th elder's face, the lunatic. Now that he had knelt down, how was he going to face others in the future? The. He. Madman pondered for a moment, then nodded. All right then. Thank you. The 10th elder was extremely grateful. Madman said indifferently, in the future, don't be so short-sighted. The world is so big, how can Qin Feiyang be the only one who has your heavenly god arts? Yes, yes, yes. The 10th elder nodded repeatedly. The woman in white looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, then what is your true cultivation level? Madman said, the small success stage of the Supreme God realm is my true cultivation level. Then you. Don't tell me that you are really a small success stage war god. The woman in white looked at Qin Feiyang again. Initial stage of the Supreme God realm. Qin Feiyang said. As expected, you are hiding your cultivation level. However, with your initial stage cultivation level, you were able to kill Wang Darren and the others in an instant. In other words, you also have a heaven-defying divine art? The woman in white was surprised. Qin Feiyang nodded. Huh, you didn't expect that my dragon god palace would have two monstrous geniuses this time, right? The woman in white laughed and was very gratified. Qin Feiyang shook his head and said, we don't deserve the word monstrous. We were just lucky. The woman in white looked at the two of them and said to the 10th elder, you can go back first. Yes. The 10th elder nodded and looked at the woman in white and Qin Feiyang suspiciously. What was the meaning of this? She actually sent him away. The 10th elder turned and left. Lin Hua also turned and left with the 10th elder. The woman in white suddenly looked at Lin Hua and said, "You stay." "Me?" Lin Hua was stunned. He looked at the woman in white, pointed at his nose, and asked. "N?" The woman in white nodded. This made the 10th elder even more puzzled. But he didn't dare to stay and soon disappeared from their sight. Qin Feiyang and the other man also had a suspicious look on their faces. What was this woman doing? The woman in white looked at Lin Hua and asked, "You have been following the 10th elder?" "Yes." Lin Hua nodded respectfully. The woman in white asked meaningfully, "Then did he say anything to you? For example, to get rid of someone?" Lin Hua was stunned and asked suspiciously, "Lord Ancestral Dragon, why don't you ask the 10th elder directly? Answer when I ask you to." The woman in white shouted. "Yes." Lin Hua nodded quickly and said, "The 10th elder did say that he wanted to get rid of someone." "Get rid of who?" the woman in white asked. "That is," Lin Hua glanced at Qin Feiyang and didn't dare to say it. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "It's me, right?" "N?" Lin Hua nodded. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. In fact, it wasn't difficult to guess. Because last time in the Deacon Hall, he severely humiliated the 10th elder. With the 10th elder's vengeful personality, he definitely wouldn't let him go easily. The woman in white pondered for a while and waved her hand to Qin Feiyang and Lin Hua. "You two go back to the cave first." "Yes." Qin Feiyang and Lin Hua responded and went into the valley below. They entered the cave one after another. The woman in white looked at Lin Hua and asked, "Apart from killing Gu Fan and the others, what else did they do or say to disrespect the dragons?" Lin Hua said, "Not only that, they even said that they were on the same side as the dragons." "What did they say?" The woman in white looked at him curiously. At that time, everyone was talking about Qin Feiyang, but that lunatic and Li Bu, suddenly scolded everyone. Lin Hua repeated what Qin Feiyang and Lin Hua said to express their loyalty without missing a single word. "They really said that?" The woman in white couldn't believe it. Lin Hua said, "How would I dare to lie to you? A few hundred people were there and heard it. That lunatic even said that if Qin Feiyang dared to offend him, he would kill him without hesitation. So that means, they just couldn't stand the behavior of the two island masters and weren't targeting the dragons?" The woman in white said. "That's what I meant." Lin Hua nodded. The woman in white's eyes flickered. She looked at Lin Hua and said, "All right, I understand. You may leave." "Yes." Lin Hua responded respectfully, then turned around and left quickly. The woman in white looked down at the cave residence in the valley. Her eyes flickered. "Heaven-defying divine art, after a while." The woman in white murmured. Her eyes flickered as she turned and flew away. Inside the cave residence, Qin Feiyang and Lunatic stood behind the door, watching the woman in white leave. Lunatic asked suspiciously, "What were they whispering about?" "Nothing good." Qin Feiyang shook his head. Lunatic nodded and said, "But speaking of which, I'm afraid that your dragon hunt plan is going to die in the womb." Qin Feiyang couldn't help but smile bitterly. He originally planned to enter the Divine Dragon Island to hunt some young dragons. But now that he had seen how terrifying the Divine Dragon Island was, who would dare to go? Lunatic smiled and said, "I have an idea." "What idea?" Qin Feiyang was suspicious. "Don't we already have a 5-clawed golden dragon? Then let's go and catch another female dragon. This way, in a few years, the Black Tortoise Realm will definitely give birth to a large number of young dragons." Lunatic said. "Ah!" Qin Feiyang was stunned. He could even come up with such an idea. It really made him speechless. If the five-clawed golden dragon heard this, it would probably be very depressed. Let's not talk about this for now. Let's cultivate. By the way, thank you for just now. Qin Feiyang smiled. If Lunatic hadn't diverted the attention of the 10th Elder and Lin Hua, he wouldn't have been able to get away with it. Why are you being so polite with me? Lunatic rolled his eyes at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang laughed involuntarily and brought Madman into the castle. After breaking through to the early stage of the Paragon God realm, his refining speed had increased again. With his current speed, refining 20 billion soul stones would take him around 300 days if he calculated the time in the outside world. That was 10 months. And before entering the internal sea, he had already been cultivating in seclusion for a month. In other words, he only needed to cultivate in seclusion for another 9 months to step into the early stage of the Paragon God realm. If this speed was spread out, who knew how much of a sensation it would cause? Because under normal circumstances, even Qin Feiyang would need more than 30,000 years to refine 20 billion soul stones. 100 years in a day. How much time did the castle save for him? Time passed day by day. The north gradually regained its peace. The dragons didn't seem to have made much of a move. Ever since Lunatic killed Gu Fan and the others, no one dared to come to the Dragon God Palace to cause trouble. In the blink of an eye. More than 9 months passed. Qin Feiyang's cultivation had finally entered the early stage of the Paragon God realm. But he didn't come out of seclusion. He started to ponder the concealment art and rising dragon art. He could feel that these two deity arts still had a lot of room for improvement. Buzz. But a few days later, the image crystal suddenly rang. Qin Feiyang took out the image crystal. A shadow appeared. Greetings, young lord. Jiang Dafei bowed. What's the matter? Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. Jiang Dafei said, I have 2 pieces of good news for you. What's the good news? Qin Feiyang looked at him curiously. I've become the city lord of the Holy Dragon City. And it's not just me. More than half of our people have already taken up their positions. As for the other half, although they haven't taken up their positions yet, they're still working hard. I believe it's only a matter of time. Jiang Dafei smiled. It's indeed good news. Qin Feiyang nodded. Jiang Dafei said, the other good news is that the treasure pavilion of the Holy Dragon City is going to auction a 4th grade divine fire today. 4th grade divine fire? Qin Feiyang was stunned and asked, how many are there? The Netherworld demonic flame just needed 3 4th grade divine fires to upgrade to the 5th grade divine fire. I don't know how many there are. But I think you'll definitely be interested in this. Jiang Dafei said. Chapter 25-22. Alchemy Fire, I'm definitely interested. But it's just a 4th grade divine fire. You can get it. There's no need for me to come here personally. Qin Feiyang frowned. He had given Jiang Dafei so many divine gems and soul stones last time. Even if he split them equally with Fan Yunzhang, it was more than enough to bid for a few 4th grade divine lights. I don't have enough divine gems. Otherwise, I wouldn't dare to bother you, young lord. Jiang Dafei smiled bitterly. Not enough. You've used up all the divine gems I gave you. Qin Feiyang was surprised. Yes. Jiang Dafei nodded. So fast. Qin Feiyang was stunned. Young lord, please don't misunderstand. I didn't spend any of these divine gems. Here's the thing. Now, not only Fan Yunzhang and I, but also Lei Bing and the others are following you. If there are benefits, we naturally have to share them. Therefore, after discussing with Old Fan, we decided to distribute the soul stones and divine crystals you've given us. Jiang Dafei said. I see. Qin Feiyang suddenly understood. If that was the case, then there was nothing to say. After all, there were more than 1,000 people. If they each had a little, there wouldn't be much left. Jiang Dafei asked carefully, "Young lord, you're not angry, are you? It's good to know how to share." "Why would I be angry?" Qin Feiyang was speechless. "That's good." Jiang Dafei breathed a sigh of relief. "Okay then. I've been in the Divine Prefecture for so long. Except for the treasure pavilion in Black Rock City, I haven't been to any other treasure pavilion. Let's go take a look." Qin Feiyang smiled. "Okay." Jiang Dafei nodded. "Since you've become the city lord, hurry up and come to the Black Tortoise realm to cultivate in seclusion. Break through to the peak Ninth Heaven's realm as soon as possible." Qin Feiyang said. "Then let's do it today. When I've arranged the affairs of the city lord mansion, I'll go to the treasure pavilion to find you." Jiang Dafei said. "Okay." Qin Feiyang nodded. "Then this subordinate will go and get busy." Jiang Dafei smiled and turned off the image crystal. Qin Feiyang also put away the image crystal, left the cultivation room, and walked out of the ancient castle. Currently, the Black Tortoise world wasn't just a land of demons. The spiritual essence and soul vein energies in other places were so dense that they could be vaporized. A day in the outside world was equivalent to 100 years in the Black Tortoise world. After 30,000 years of discovery, the living beings of the Black Tortoise world had grown several times stronger than before. Now, let alone false gods, even war gods could be seen everywhere. "What are you doing, girl?" Qin Feiyang asked with a smile as he walked into the tea garden and looked at the busy Fire Lotus. "He's out." Fire Lotus raised her head and looked at Qin Feiyang, wiping the sweat from her forehead. "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded and saw that Fire Lotus was holding a bamboo basket in her hand. Inside the basket were pieces of emerald green tea leaves. It turned out that she was picking tea leaves. Qin Feiyang also reached out and picked a few tea leaves. He placed them at the tip of his nose and smelled them. Wisps of fragrance immediately entered his nose. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang seemed to have thought of something. He turned to Fire Lotus and asked, "Hong Yi, how did you deal with them?" "Dead." Fire Lotus smiled. Qin Feiyang nodded. These two people didn't deserve sympathy. It didn't matter if they died. He said, "Why do I feel that there's something wrong with the power of law you told me last time?" "What's wrong?" Fire Lotus was puzzled. "I remember that you said that you would only know what kind of power of law you have after you awaken the power of law. But how did I comprehend the power of law of light from the power of law of darkness directly?" Qin Feiyang was puzzled. Fire Lotus was stunned. She shook her head and smiled, "There's only one word to explain it." "What word?" Qin Feiyang looked at her in confusion. Fire Lotus said, "You're a freak." Qin Feiyang was speechless. What did this have to do with being a freak? As far as I know, no matter who it is, they can only comprehend one kind of power of law in their lifetime. And they have to wait until they break through to the imperishable realm. But what about you? You comprehended the power of law of light when you just became an immortal. If that's not a freak, then what is? So what happened to you can't be explained by common sense. Fire Lotus said. Qin Feiyang couldn't help but smile bitterly. Fire Lotus suddenly smiled and said, "Actually, I'm also about to comprehend the power of law." Huh? Qin Feiyang was surprised. Although I've been living a very ordinary life in the Black Tortoise world these years, it's this kind of life that has brought me a lot of benefits. The biggest of which is the transformation of my state of mind. I have no desires and no desires. I look at this world with an ordinary heart. From the various states of the world, I understand the meaning of life. From all living things, I peek at the foundation of the universe. Fire Lotus said with a smile. Qin Feiyang stared at Fire Lotus in a daze. In a trance, he felt that there seemed to be an ethereal aura on Fire Lotus's body. Then do you know what the power of law you've comprehended is now? Qin Feiyang asked. But Fire Lotus just smiled. Still keeping me in suspense. Qin Feiyang was speechless. Okay, you can slowly comprehend it. Senior brother Crazy, Five-Clawed Golden Dragon, come with me. Holy Dragon City. Although 9 months had passed, Qin Feiyang's ransacking of the major cities in the north and his battle with the dragons in the internal sea were still hot topics. I've lived for more than 100,000 years, and I've never admired anyone except Qin Feiyang. That's right. Ransacking the major cities is already openly provoking the dragons, and he actually went to the internal sea. What's even worse? Not only did he escape safely, but he also stole the dragon's heaven-defying divine artifact. Everything this little guy does is always so shocking. In a certain tea house, a few old men sat together and discussed this matter with a myriad of emotions. And not far away, 2 young men in luxurious clothes were sitting. When they heard the discussion of the old men, there was a trace of displeasure in their eyes. This person really knows how to be in the limelight. One of them snorted coldly. Don't take offense. After all, he came from a small place like the Great Qin. The other person held a folding fan in his hand and smiled faintly. Then let's go to the treasure pavilion. I heard that the treasure pavilion is auctioning a grade 4 divine pill fire today. Maybe we can meet him. After all, he's an alchemist. Then I'm really looking forward to seeing how capable he is. After the 2 of them finished speaking, they got up to pay the bill and left the tea house. North City Gate. There was an endless stream of people entering and leaving the Holy Dragon City. A burly young man dressed in black walked towards the city gate alone. And on his wrist, there was a 5-clawed golden dragon tattoo. That's right. This person was Qin Feiyang. This time, he didn't hide and entered the Holy Dragon City as Li Bu. After the mad scientist took him out of the Dragon God Palace, he entered the ancient castle and continued to cultivate in seclusion. As for the tattoo on his wrist, it was naturally formed by the 5-clawed golden dragon. However, the 5-clawed golden dragon hid its aura. Even if it was seen by others, they would only think that it was a tattoo. They would never think that it was a 5-clawed golden dragon that had just formed. In front of the city gate, there were 4 half-step 9 Heavens Realm guards. Everyone who entered and left the city had to be checked by the Heaven's Eye Stone. However, Qin Feiyang wasn't nervous at all. He walked in front of the 4 guards and took out the identity token of the Dragon God Palace. You are, Li Bu, one of the guards exclaimed. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Li Bu, the young man who killed the first island master and humiliated the 10th elder of the Black Dragon clan in public. The guard's exclamation immediately alarmed the people entering and leaving the city. Everyone looked at Qin Feiyang. Although Li Bu's reputation wasn't as good as Qin Feiyang's, he was still famous in the Holy Dragon City. Humiliating the 10th elder was something that countless people wanted to do but didn't dare to do. The news of the 10th elder's humiliation has already spread. Qin Feiyang was stunned. It was true that good things didn't go out, but bad things traveled 1,000 miles. It seemed that it would be impossible to keep a low profile in the future. One of the guards came back to his senses and quickly looked at the other 3 guards. Let him go. Then the 4 retreated to the side. Qin Feiyang put away the identity token and smiled. Don't you need to check? No need, no need. The 4 waved their hands. He was such a famous person, what was there to check? Besides, this person not only had a good relationship with the law enforcement hall master of the Dragon God Palace, but also had a supreme expert protecting him. Even if they were given the courage, they wouldn't dare to check. Qin Feiyang smiled and prepared to enter the Holy Dragon City. But suddenly, He seemed to have noticed something. Turning his head to look behind him, he saw a woman in white standing in the crowd, looking at the city gate with a thoughtful look. The woman's clothes and hair were a little messy, and she looked extremely haggard. There was even a lot of dirt on her body. But it could be seen that she was a very beautiful woman. However, this wasn't what attracted Qin Feiyang. What really attracted him was the aura that this woman exuded, which seemed to give him a sense of familiarity. Is there anything else? The four guards looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. Nothing. Qin Feiyang came back to his senses and turned to enter the Holy Dragon City with a trace of doubt. He was sure that he had never seen this woman before. But why did he vaguely feel a sense of familiarity? It's really strange. The more Qin Feiyang thought about it, the more puzzled he became. He simply stood behind the city gate and turned to look at the woman in white. The woman in white looked at the city gate, as if hesitating about something. But in the end, the woman stepped forward and walked to the city gate. After being checked, she entered the city. After entering the city, the woman in white and Qin Feiyang brushed past each other. The sense of familiarity in Qin Feiyang's heart grew stronger. But the woman in white didn't pay attention to Qin Feiyang. She didn't even look at him, and there was a trace of sadness between her eyebrows that couldn't be removed. That frail figure also seemed a little lonely. Who is it? Qin Feiyang looked at the woman's back and kept searching in his mind. Suddenly, he quivered and finally thought of the source of this sense of familiarity. Enchantment. That's right. It was the enchantment that he saw when he fainted in the forest and woke up. At that time, the aura emitted by the divine power enchantment was very similar to the aura that this woman in white was exuding at this moment. Is it her? Qin Feiyang muttered and strove to catch up with the woman. Looking at the woman's back, he hesitated for a while and stepped in front of the woman. He cupped his hands and said, "Mississippi."